Connect PNG, whether it be a road in whichever province, if we put an allocation of 50 million this year, take for example, we had our Connect PNG road running from Southern Islands to Gulf. That road, in the previous 4 last budget, we've allocated 50 million each in each year. So the road itself, the budget allocation we said would take at least 300 or 400 million. But every year we've been consistently applying 50 million in the budget for a section of a road. And this is allowed under PFMA and allowed under NPC legislation for a multi-year contract, meaning that we can allocate budget provision now and allow the budget to capture consistently throughout the year for us to complete that road. So the question is, when we allocate for a certain provision of roads, such as few of the roads that he's mentioning, take for example the road for Momase could be 1.7 billion. And those are roads that we've allocated specifically, like for example in Isipik, we have some roads running, and for within the Connect PNG program, we have roads such as the Wiwek, Angoram, and from Angoram coming back from Middle Ramu. That road, we've allocated 20 million in this year budget for one provision from Medeng side. And then another side, we have another 10 million from the Wiwek side. So if you had components of each budget allocation, you can contract for a provisional year or a multi-year. So this number of roads running in our country, not just the ones that we've stated in our time when we took government, but some roads were running in the previous years, but they were not termed as Connect PNG. Take, for example, the road that is under Teleforming District, which connecting western part and the western province and West Sipik as well. That road was running under a program of its own, but now we've elevated that program to be a Connect PNG program. So much of the amount that we see is just major roads we've allocated from existing programs to Connect PNG and the major ones that this government has identified on a multi-year program. So as you speak, minimum limited budget now law, Gulf Okapa Highway or Miniama Trans Highway Bololoka Mosem law, Kerema, those budgets are in here, and then time you give him contract for that 5 years, you buy me work, knowing that we will budget every year in this 5-year term to cater for that contract where you may give him. Instead, let me contract him for 1 year. The next year, you may give him same contract again. We're just giving one contract for 5 or 6 years, and we fund consistently. Question 2, AMLO side blow clear, AMLO side blow contract. As to other allocations, Assistant Speaker Trulo, you, as whether there are other allocations to cater for Connect PNG, yes. I take his question as asking for just Connect PNG. Say, for example, we've got programs under SOE that are running to put more towers under telecom. Water programs that are running are part of Connect PNG. Connect PNG is not just roads. So when you add the entire component of Connect PNG, it gives a bulk figure of, when we say 5 or 6 billion under Connect PNG. So for roads specifically, when we say we're budgeting like 400 or 500 million allocation for this year is just for roads. But when you say the whole scheme of Connect PNG is not just roads, it's jetties, it's ships, it's ports that we need to build. Me answering the question, I'd like to answer in the entirety that is referring to Connect PNG and not just Connect PNG roads. Question 4, on the APC, authority to pre-commit, committee meets and is explained a bit the composition of that committee, and that committee is aware of the multi-year contracting and also aware of the provision that we need to budget for now, but at the same time cater for multi-year contracting as well. So when they meet, Assistant Speaker, when they meet, having knowledge of that provision that we approved now and in years to come we budget, they also have been approving APC forms to allow for contracts to go ahead with the intention that we forward contract and at the same time we allow for budget to cater for those shortfalls. The other 2 or 3 questions, Mr. Speaker, let me just say that the Connect PNG in respect to, we've made a legislation on the floor for us to be sensitive that a legislation allows for us to commit to the Connect PNG, and in 20 years' time we need 20 billion to connect our entire country. 20 billion is not just for roads, 20 billion is majority for roads, but at the same time jetties, ports and other additional infrastructures that we need. Now in terms of that, we've been catering for all of that in budgets, all of that in budgets. Few have come under funding under agencies like World Bank and other multi-development partners that we have. So those all put together have come up with figures that he's mentioned in question 1, such as the 1.6 billion for the Momase side. We've done tremendous work in the Islands Highway, and I think if most of us have been driving to and fro in the road, we've seen major improvement, Mr. Assistant Speaker. So those are major roads running, and as much as we've done, Mr. Assistant Speaker, let me conclude with this remark. When we've been budgeting in the past governments, we've allocated most of this funding to be under national government. What I've seen in the last 4 years in my capacity and few of those roles in finance and planning is that we've more or less been a government to share. The obligation of connecting our own country has been shared, meaning that we've allocated huge fundings to provinces to do their bits in terms of connecting their provinces back to other provinces. Instead of just holding all those budgets, Assistant Speaker, we've given those funds out to districts and provinces to do their bit. As such, you've seen increase in district funding, provincial funding. And if we allocate the funding like 450 million comparatively, imagine if we were to hold back the funding from giving funding to provincial governments and district governments and allocate all of those funding under Connect PNG, we would achieve at least 3-4 billion kina in allocation of Connect PNG roads only. But, Assistant Speaker, you may give him Manilo province, districts, to be able to do their part so that they don't see that we are managing all of that at the national level. So, Assistant Speaker, to respond to that question, one meeting was multi-year contracting am allowed. Anit lo low yimikat, lo put him contract lo 5 year, but you may fund him every year. Number 2, APC savelo law. Now BNM is law now allow him you may lo contract him for 5 year or multi-year contract for 6 years. How you may give him. So all of that and those allocations you may put him. Sample allocation is stop law works. Sample allocation now. Take for example, Governor asked him, so me put him like the Wiwek Angoram Road. You may put in budget, so now you may put him out lo tender. Those roads are also important for us to connect from that section, go lo Middle Ramu as well. So I think I tried to answer the bit that Miaram, so thank you lo Governor Blong. ECP Gloris Lagupla question. Any other way me miss him, I will write to his detailed questions in consultation with my Department of Planning, Finance, at the same time consult him Works Department as well, so me take him. Governor Logimisla question. Thank you.
Governor, supplementary.
My supplementary is as follows, and I appreciate the response from the Minister. If these are contracts that have been awarded in the last 2 years under Connect PNG, as I initially asked, and again, this is specific to Connect PNG. It is not asking about the DSIP and other grants that have been given to districts and to the provinces, which are of course separate, and they may include road components as well. But these are very specifically Connect PNG contracts, and these are specific to do with roads and bridges. These are not to do with communication towers, wharves, or jetties. And it comes back to this point. And I wanted clarification from the Minister, because if reading the budget, where all of the Connect PNG funds are parked, it's 425 million in Works Department. Now, if we were to allocate 425 million a year over the next 5 years and continue to issue contracts against this Connect PNG program, obviously we are going to go over the intended 20 billion over 20 years. We've already allocated and awarded contracts of 5 billion within 3 or 4 years. Hence my question, how are we financing it? And on top of that, where are we reporting on it? Are we reporting on it in the Treasury report when the Treasury comes out and gives us the financial statement for the country and gives us the debt to GDP numbers? Is it there? Or is it being managed somewhere else? And hence, my question regarding the NPC responsibilities and the APC responsibilities that come under finance. Who is handling this 5 billion kina? And where is that number, 5 to 6 billion kina? And how is it reported to Parliament? Because if it's off the books, if it doesn't constitute, if it's a contingent liability, it must come under the debt. And might I say, these are the same issues that we had when we were in opposition with the previous Prime Minister, the Honorable Peter O'Neill, under the UBS program. This is the similar question. How do we handle it? And where is it being handled? Is it handled in the budget or is it handled off the books? Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Minister for Finance.
Out of the few questions and issues he's raising, I will liaise with Treasury Department and also with Department of Works, and I will get a clear, more detailed response to this Parliament and to the Honourable Governor as well. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Milakim clarification taso, lo Finance Minister, na National Planning Minister, lo this la APC. I think APC under the Public Finance Management Act is very, very clear. And if I'm hearing the good governor correctly, any pre-commitment, any commitment made by government must be captured by the APC within the budget framework, in or outside of the budget framework. Now, suppose what the governor is saying, Mr. Assistant Speaker, is correct, then strictly committing funds as budgeted and not outside of the budget must be complied to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Assistant Speaker, I take note of the supplementary question by our good Deputy Opposition Leader. I think, as I said, APC committee, when they deliberate on contracts, they reflect on the budget as he is clearly stating. But also, and Parliament understands this principle of budgeting. When we budget under a program, we understand that it is a 5-year cycle of budgeting. Say, for example, if we budget for 50 million for a road, and we tender for that, and they go to the committee to ask for an APC approval, the committee will then reflect on the budget, which is 50, but the contract could be 200 million. So if the 200 million is 50 million every year, it is consistent that that 50 million will be allocated every year in the budget. So the contract is then 200 million. So that provision is stated in the NPC provisions. So it allows for us to budget consistently every year for the next 4 years to cover that 200 million. So it does not mean that 200 million has to be on the budget. It means that there's a program for it for 200 million, thus we are budgeting 50 million every year consistently. So they then approve the APC approval for us to go to the next process of the tendering process. Thank you.
My questions are directed.
Sorry, I'm saying Honorable Governor for Hela.
Oh.
Anger, I'll ask the next question.
I'm Chief Lohela, so I'm going to ask him to. Thank you, Excellent Speaker, for giving this lot of time. My question without this, wanted to ask Treasurer, but I think I'm asking two related questions. So, as a shareholder of state-owned enterprises or Kumul companies, Prime Minister can help Treasurer and he can take note. Prime Minister can help answer my two simple questions. In today's paper, we read about National Gaming Board
making a revenue of 456 million kina in just 9 months. And this is equivalent to about 50 million kina a month. And by the end of the year, we expect to raise about 600 to 700 million kina. In last year, we read about Octeri delivering about 400 million dividend, and about 180 or 190 million went to state. And of that, about 100 million paid to 102 million, I guess, was paid to state, and 88 million kina withheld by Kumul Mining Octeri Limited. Kumul Petroleum Limited in 2022 earned about 1.48 billion and paid 400 million as dividend to state. BSV dividend and all other SOEs, when you put together, it ranges well over 5 billion kina. And this is equivalent to about 20% of our 24 billion kina budget. So my simple question to Prime Minister is, does the government have any plan to consolidate or pull all the state revenue into, like, from all SOEs, BSV dividend, Octeri, Kumul companies, and put them to support the national government budget rather than allowing individual boards, statutory organizations and boards, and keep certain percentage or bigger portion of the money. And my question is, does the government have any plans to pull all the resources together rather than allowing them to keep much of our revenue in different boards, and we go to external loans and other means and incurring a lot of cost to the nation? So that's my first question. My second question is, back in this year, March 2023, governors have passed a resolution regarding provincial government empowerment and decentralization of powers. Our number one resolution was about financial autonomy. And there are multiple issues within that regard, that context, but one significant issue that been debated last few weeks and months was about insufficient funding going into police. Hela, for instance, only receives between 10 million kina to 20 million kina every month, with a population of 500,000 people. 500,000 people. With a population of 500,000 people. You're giving 10,000 kina every month. What are they going to do? My PVC going to do with 10,000 kina every month? We are here, we have allocated a big portion of money to the police department, ranging from 400 million kina to 600 million kina, promising to this nation that we will modernize police after years. And we are not seeing any modernization going on, and monies keep on being absorbed in the headquarters. The police is a classic example, but all the departments are misusing and abusing funds that are supposed to trickle down to every department, every province, and every district. And so we have pushed for a block grant, starting with police. And so what is your government doing about this? And are we seeing any changes happening starting 2024 budget? Thank you, Mrs. Acting Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Assistant Speaker. Mitok, thank you, Lo Governor Blong Hela. He asked him two question that crosses between really couple of ministries. So let me shoot him question come lo mina, but me try him long back him to two question. Pass them through long issue long all money where all state-owned enterprises raising most, particularly all companies where as Prime Minister by designation law office me hold him, me trustee shareholders, Tupla all particularly Kumul Minerals Holding Limited, Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited, as well as question block along National Gaming Control Board. Long all money all working, whether government got visibility, long all this plan, me like indicating that government got visibility. They all, companies as well as the National Gaming Control Board, they all operate under their own charter and they all operate under their own respective governing acts of parliament that relates to how monies are accounted for, monies are expended. Along the two Kumul Minerals and Kumul Petroleum Holdings, since we arrived as government, we installed a dividend policy that today Trustee Minister Delegate, as well as the board chairman, only operate within this ambit, long ensuring that the flow of revenue come back long intended expenditure by setting under the guideline or dividend policy. And for the record, I think I did made an answer to the Parliament in a question sometimes back, but just for the record to satisfy this question, let me indicate to this House and members of Parliament that both Kumul Minerals Holding Limited as well as Kumul Petroleum Holding Limited, as well as the other public companies under the words of Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited, we have given a guide in terms of dividend policy. 60% of all monies made should come back to Wagani public accounts as revenue of state. So 60% of all money made. 10% earmarked for the administration, cost long running multi company. 10% by setting a combined. We're in the process of setting a combined structure or look at them all, supporting all churches and communities. More importantly, to acknowledge the fact that God gives these resources. We want to structure a facility where 10% of all earnings from our resource projects are geared towards a structure where Council of Churches, Body of Christ, and Evangelical Alliances, all our Christian faiths, are able to sit under a structure, and we support the work of churches in our country in addressing some of our social issues. There's a place for church to address, especially the walk long Papa God, will grow. And so 10% for community funds, as I mentioned earlier, 10% for the administrative costs. 13% would be set aside for the companies in terms of the reinvestment, for the reinvestment portfolios. These companies, there's a cash call on them for them to reinvest in projects or continued projects that are running. And so 13% is to be saved in or to be kept aside in a reinvestment funding or investment funding, and 7% of the fund is to be put into the Commonwealth Fund that we have partnering Bank of PNG, and we are setting up for the first time. Governments of past have been talking about Commonwealth Fund, but we've all have been having a habit of just squandering and wasting. We now taught, even in tough times like this, we must go into the culture of saving for the future. So 7% is meant to go in, and I just want to commend Minister Duma's leadership. There was an occasion last year when 7% of KCH earnings were transmitted to a central bank facility that we have set up to start to as an initial contribution for the growth of our sovereign wealth fund that we are partnering the central bank with. So, Governor Ndelu, to really summarize your questions, the main Kumul petroleum and mining companies, we have a clear dividend policy. Their boards have been directed to comply with the dividend policy, 60% support to budget, 13% for reinvestment, 10% for the administrative upkeep, 10% for community benefit funds, more so to partner the churches, and 7% for Sovereign Wealth Fund. That is the ambit in which our main Kumul companies operate inside. For the National Gaming Board, again, they operate through their own board, and there's a community benefit trust fund that governs how they administer. I will ask the minister responsible for the National Gaming Board, Minister of Buganda Lafes, will report to this Parliament as to the status of the earnings from National Gaming Board, as the disbursement guidelines, the programs that they engage upon throughout our country. But if some of you have noticed, there were advertisements run under my instruction that all who have received community benefit fund must provide acquittal as to what they've done in our country in the programs that have been supported. So advertisements have gone out for those who've been beneficiary to the findings from the National Gaming Board. It is incumbent upon yourselves to acquit for the funds received. And again, if the program you're engaging is successful, you stand to attract continued support. But we want to also channel National Gaming Board into not just random spending all over the place, but a targeted social community program that engages with youth and the community for those who can receive benefits from proceeds of gambling. And mind you, at a time when there's an increase in revenue from gambling, that shows that people are active in participating in gambling out there. And I just want to, as a side point, indicate this one. I want to also, on the block grant recommendation for disbursements to the provinces, I want to assure all our governors there's a governors conference to be hosted by, together by the governor of Morobe and the Minister of Intergovernment Relations in Morobe after towards the end of this month. I will be there to also be part of the occasion. That conversation on block grant is looked at in the positive. However, we just need to be sensitive on some of the national functions, especially constitutional functions like police and others. We're trying to see whether we could engage in this without tempering in the main intention of our constitutional provisions, where constitutional functions remain a national government function, and the administrative functions, especially at the service, the non-constitutional functions, the provinces can be fully empowered upon. So that process of identifying what funds that can be given through a block grant to the provinces for it to administer, we support in totality, in principle, but the mechanics of making it come to work is being looked at, and I would indicate in the governors' conference on what areas of funding you could receive ASAP, and what are other areas that we would need to progress, subject to constitutional amendments that can take place or must take place before those actions are taken upon. But all in all, empowering of provincial governments is something the Pango government and the coalitions are in full support. We want to empower you. You get to work and to deliver to our people at the sub-national government level. That clarity will carry on and continue on. And before we come to budget 2024, we want to attach with the budget documents what are areas of responsibility through funding that we will also attach with, that governors and the provincial government can handle. Also clarifying what are the roles of the districts and DDAs, especially in the funding space, as well as elevating national government focus areas and programs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought these are answers I would give, but if there are further clarities that I need to give, of course, I'm always available. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Governor Fuenga.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Question below me, got notice by the Minister belong Civil Aviation. One legal question that's all got big player impact of province below me, so me ask him. Number one asking below me, I'm a contractor along terminal long Openamanda, terminal building long Openamanda, and I'm abandoning this project for a couple of months now. And I'm asking Minister, you give him update on why now this work is stopped. Now one time by resume now. This project you can complete, give him service, you got people below me. Number two question below me, I think you have to go along. Minister belong SOE, because I'm got him on airline, but then me ask him you long. You can follow up. Mila say why took the airline there? Fly go up in Amanda. Me been talking more some security and me right no open Amanda. You got a couple of tribes only fight. That's all. Traveling public, stop of danger. Now so far, to play airline long Bruce him display service go along. So may ask him suppose you as Minister for transport, you can talk to the whole. Given this plus service, you go back long. Province below me, not all the people are at war. Majority of the people are getting on with business. Thank you.
Minister for Civil Aviation.
Thank you, Speaker. Firstly, me like to thank you, Honourable Governor Soe Pitas, for his questions in relation to the contractor, Lo Wapanamanda, who's responsible to build a new terminal. My response immediately to that is we understand under the side belong National Airport Corporation, he got some constraints below contractor in relation to their progress in building the new terminal. And with that, I would like to get a detailed information and report back to the Parliament in relation to the current status quo below contractor and the new terminal. But while we're on the subject along Wapanamanda, I'm happy to also share some latest information in relation to what has been done so far. So in relation to the term airside, minimal runway in apron area, all this lahap along Wapanamanda has been completed 100%. So I am good pala. In relation to the terminal, there's about 70% that's all only complete him. You got 30% I'm stopped yet. With that 30%, I would like the Governor to give me an opportunity to respond exactly in relation to the 30%, where it sits with the contractor and National Airport Corporation, and I'm happy to present that tomorrow in tomorrow's session, if I could, Honourable Governor. In relation to, Halpim Liglik, Gupla Minister Blimi, our hard-working minister for SOE, Minister Duma, in relation to why Balusi no go yet long Wapanamanda. Honourable Governor, you touched on it. It's due to tribal fight on ground that's causing some concern in relation to flights or regular flights to commence or to happen in Wapanamanda. On that note, I would like to also ask the leaders along Enga province to please work together to try and curb and control or take charge of the ground situation. So services like this doesn't impede on our people when they want to move or goods and services traveling in and out. It is the focus of the Marape Rozo government to make sure that Miblay no cause him unnecessary inconvenience long all traveling public and all citizens believe me. But leaders, we need to work together to try and achieve this together. So I'm big asking below me appeal go along leaders below Anga province. But in relation to WAN and New Guinea, airlines PNG no use him this runway, even though me yet me to some runway and complete finish 100%. Speaker, through you, me just like update the all or some side long New Guinea. New Guinea has done a ground survey in relation to the risk management. Use him Wapanamanda airport. Na Nyamamas lo report also New Guinea has come back and they're happy to fly back into Wapanamanda. They could start this Thursday or latest next Tuesday. All right, so I'm lost side and New Guinea. In relation to airlines PNG, at current as we speak right now, they're doing a ground risk survey long up to determine whether only one belong starting can commercial flights to go inside the Wapanamanda or not. So please rest assured, this government through the ministry of me are focused to make sure that we don't inconvenience our traveling public in this space, and as much as we can to try and get things operational for the band inside Lodisla, all terminals where we use Logona come. May I, Speaker, just quickly update the sol on Medang Airport. Mi play harim tu also iga big pla guriay bin come up 6.7 on the Richter scale that has caused a big split lo runway long Medang lo side long Balam early childhood school lo runway. They got 170 meters split crack Namel Strait. So unfortunately, we had to downgrade the Balus minimal sem.
Minister, is a point of order.
The Honourable Governor for Enga has asked a specific question. That is in relation to the airport in Wapanamanda. And the Honourable Minister, with the greatest respect, you're supposed to be, in accordance with the standing order, supposed to be specific and reply to those questions raised by the Honourable Governor for Enga, not Medang. He didn't ask you about Medang.
Thank you, Honorable Governor from Morobe. Your point of order is in order. Minister, just come to the point and then you can take the seat after this.
Thank you, Speaker. Also, me talk sa with the sol just while I'm on camera and the public's listening. I think it's important that we do update.
Hello, I'm Carol Kido Jr. with the news update. Air Niugini has temporarily downgraded its services to Medang to -8 operations due to damage caused to part of the runway by Saturday's earthquake. In a media statement issued yesterday, the national airline said the National Airports Corporation is currently working on a plan to fix damage caused to the runway. Similarly, all Fokker and Boeing 737 flights to Mount Hagen have been downgraded to -8 aircraft due to maintenance works on the runway at Kagamuga Airport. The airport runway is shortened to allow NAC to carry out maintenance and repair works. Power has been restored to parts of Medang following Saturday's earthquake. PNG Power Limited confirmed in a media statement that after doing checks on power supply infrastructure and confirming there were no serious damage to some, electricity supply was restored around 6 p.m. Sunday. While sympathizing with the people of Medang, PPL CEO Obed Batia said inspections showed some serious damages to power supply infrastructure. There were power poles and lines destroyed in most parts of Medang. These are still being worked on to ensure normal power supply from the Ramu hydropower is restored. More teams have been dispatched to areas in Medang without power to assess and restore electricity supply. In a strategic move towards its goal of sending 8,000 citizens abroad annually by 2025, Papua New Guinea held the PNG and New Zealand Labour Mobility Exposition 2023 in Port Moresby. Key dignitaries and employers, including Minister for Treasury Ian Link-Stuckey, gathered to explore collaborations in labour mobility. Discussions centred on enhancing the recognised seasonal employer scheme and increasing female participation. Karen Start from Thornhill highlighted the importance of government initiatives for PNG workers in New Zealand. The exposition concluded with a commitment to address challenges collectively and strengthen the PNG and New Zealand Labour Mobility Partnership. Delegates will further explore recruitment processes in Mount Hagen and Western Highlands.
We would not have a business without it, and we're very grateful to all our workers from all our countries, but having a labour sending unit that we can communicate with is a lot easier for us. We can't be in these countries all the time recruiting, so to have that trust and that relationship, and part of me being here is also building that relationship and meeting all the people that I've dealt with constantly to make sure that we get the workers that fit for us, as well as that we're looking after these workers and explaining what we do as a company.
2 men, reportedly Qantas baggage handlers, have been charged by the Australian Federal Police after allegedly unloading 100 kilograms of cocaine from a passenger plane in Sydney last weekend.
5 men in total have been charged over this alleged plot to smuggle 100 kilograms of cocaine into Sydney Airport. And the AFP says these drugs were smuggled into the cargo hold of a passenger plane, Qantas Flight 64, which came from Johannesburg and landed in Sydney on Saturday afternoon. And they say that they estimate that the street value of these drugs was $40 million. And 2 of the men who were charged worked at the airport, and the AFP alleges that they used their employment and access to baggage handling operations to remove the 5 bags of cocaine and place them into a car outside the airport freight terminal, where they met a driver. And the driver of that car, as well as those 2 men who work at the airport, were all charged and arrested shortly after the handover. And police also arrested a 62-year-old man who coordinated this handover, as well as a 42-year-old man who is believed to be the primary facilitator and mastermind of this plot. And he is allegedly involved in coordinating with overseas figures to source the cocaine and place it onto the aircraft. And police say that the AFP strongly targets border operations in regards to drug importations, and all 5 men appeared in Parramatta Local Court yesterday and they were denied bail. One of the men will appear at Downing Centre Local Court again today, while the other men will appear on November the 30th.
With the countdown now until the Pacific Islands Forum leaders meeting in Rarotonga, a question mark still remains over who will take over from Henry Puna when his term is up. Puna said Baron Waka remains on track to be his successor. He said the leaders decided at the special retreat last February in Denarau that Waka will succeed him as Secretary General. The Waka appointment was made as part of a raft of measures to repair a rift that had threatened to sink the regional body. Questions have since been raised by President of Palau, Zorangel Whips Jr., the Federated States of Micronesia's former President David Panuelo, and Samoa's Prime Minister Fiame Naumi Mataafa around the appointment process. Waka is a former president of Nauru and has been heavily criticized by rights campaigners over his treatment of the hundreds of asylum seekers placed in Nauru by Australia. Rare and endangered plant and wildlife is being saved from extinction in parklands across Melbourne. The Melbourne City Council and the Royal Botanic Gardens of Victoria have started working together to create what is called the Threatening Species Living Collection Plant. The council says it jumped at the idea after the success of another project involving grasshoppers.
This job sucks, but it is effective. Armed with a tube, hose, filter and a good set of lungs, these guys are hunting the tiny matchstick grasshopper. Only found in Australia and once extinct in Melbourne, it's flourishing in Royal Park.
Of the 10 sites that we did last year, 7 of them are successful.
And this small reintroduction means a lot. First, to the resilience of the city's wildlife and biodiversity.
You get this particular matchstick around in the winter, so putting them back into Royal Park actually really helps the food chain.
Second, because the council is inspired to do even more.
In city environments, we can play a role in regenerating species that have become extinct because of bushfires in country areas, for example.
The Pine Mountain Grevillea only grows naturally in northeast Victoria and was nearly wiped out by bushfires in 2019. This sapling is the first to be planted in what the Council and Royal Botanic Gardens Victoria is calling its Threatened Species Living Collection.
We call it the backstop to extinction.
It will relocate endangered flora to city parks to be nurtured as part of an active ecosystem.
From little things, big things grow.
Beautiful. Australia has about 1,500 threatened plant species, and while seed banks exist, not all species are safe.
50% of the threatened flora across the state is banked, which is phenomenal. However, there's a whole bunch of species, we call them recalcitrant species, that can't be stored.
Now that this fragile little grevillea is on some solid ground, another 40 species have been identified to be planted as part of this project. The grasshoppers benefit too.
As you put more and more plants in, including the grevillea, they will feed on those too.
Sites at Royal Park, Fitzroy Gardens and Domain are being surveyed for threatened plant life.
Canberra has hosted its first standalone All Abilities Touch Football Carnival. Teams from across New South Wales travelled to Canberra for 2 days of competition.
Running away for a length of the field try, these players are showing they've got plenty of ability.
We talked about what we needed to work on today. Basically, it was our defence that actually won us the game.
While some players are fiercely competitive, carnivals like this are about the bigger picture.
Hey, number one thing, have fun. All right, this is your last day here today. Make sure you guys have heaps of fun.
Well, it gives every single level of ability to be able to play. Yeah, these guys are loving it. I assume he's loving it?
Yeah.
Up, Reggie! Reggie Hodges has watched his family play touch football his whole life, but never had the chance to take the field. When the opportunity came to be part of Canberra's All Ability Alliance team, he took the ball with 2 hands and ran with it.
A lot of the kids here, they finally have sort of fitted into a sport that they love and that they feel inclusive.
What are some things you've learnt?
Yeah, it's gone sports-wise.
It's all in the name, with the All Abilities Cup catering for competitors of varying levels of ability, with players from Orange, Wagga Wagga, Wollongong, The Hunter and Sydney separated into 3 tiers.
Really happy to be with them too, with their friends.
Canberra's All Ability Alliance has come a long way since it started last year, now fielding 3 teams who are ready to play in a weekly summer competition.
We are touches. A lot of these players are preparing to play in next year's National Touch League in Coffs Harbour. Carnivals like this give players of all abilities valuable game time and competition experience to hone their skills.
And that's all for now. Join us at 6 this evening for the main news. Bye for now.
However, it is worthwhile reflecting on a few standout achievements. Mr. Assistant Speaker, in 2016, ICSA has processed a record number of visa and passport applications and facilitated passenger movements across its international borders. The overall increase was due to a number of visas facilitated in lead-up to the APEC, as well as a facilitation of the APEC Business Travel Card back-end processing. ICSA continues to expand its operational footprints to improve its reach and effectiveness. Indeed, the agency's ability to respond immediately to government priorities were exemplified by the establishment of an immigration office at Mount Hagen to process international arrivals and departures, and the border management system deployed at the PNG Trade Mission in Taiwan, which has now been shut because of the Taiwan closure. On the legislative reform front, Parliament passed amendments to the Constitution, paving the way for dual citizenship, providing options for foreigners and Papua New Guineans to acquire dual citizenship under various pathways. Mr. Assistant Speaker, in 2017, after elections, saw a significant change in creation of the new Ministry of Labour and Immigration. The authority successfully completed the refugee status determination assessments for the regional resettlement arrangements cohorts. These assessments have reached and exceeded international standards and maintained PNG's international obligations. This also saw the closure of the Manus Regional Processing Centre on the Lombrum Naval Base. Consequently, all the residents of the centre were transferred out of Lombrum. In 2017, ICSA played a key role in facilitating entry of participants in various international events that were held in PNG, including the Under-20 FIFA World Cup tournament and the Rugby League World Cup. Mr. Speaker, 2018 was another year for ICSA as it played a significant role to support the hosting of APEC meeting in PNG. ICSA ensured a smooth arrival and departures of all APEC delegations, with all visas processed and issued on time for the meeting. The authority continues its efforts in service delivery and meeting government's targets, which saw the formulation of its 5-year strategic corporate plan 2018 to 2022 and the rebranding of its corporate identity. ICSA has also contributed over
20 million into the national purse from the migration service fees collected. Launching of the new online visa application portal product was also one of the notable achievements in 2018 and is still working on evolving and improving the service. Mr. Speaker, the authority has undergone a significant reform in its organizational structure to better respond to operational requirements and challenges in work priorities, and also make a notable progress on discussions with Department of Labour and Industrial Relations to merge work permit functions from the DLRI to ICSA. On the legislative reform front, ICSA has auspiciously implemented the new migration service fees, a new online payment gateway for all migration service fees to be paid in US dollars. ICSA is also the only agency in PNG to meet its commitment to APEC BOGO Goals 2020 by successfully going on visa online with the rest of the APEC economies on the international front. Mr. Assistant Speaker, 2020 was a year of COVID-19 pandemic that has been most challenging for PNG and globally. The coronavirus pandemic have pervaded every aspect of ICSA's operations. There has been a significant decrease by 66% on the entry permits issued, which immensely affected by the restrictions on the movement of people across international borders, subsequently affecting the authorities' ability to generate revenue for the government. Despite 2020 COVID-19 pandemic impacts on our workforce and operations, it is worth mentioning that the authority made significant progress in achieving some of its key priority activities. The NEC's endorsement and approval on the submission on the merger of work permit functions from DLIR to ICSA, as well as approval of the drafting instructions for the Employment of Non-Citizens Amendment Act 2020 and Immigration and Citizenship Service Act 2020 amended bills was ICSI's achievement in the year. Mr. Assistant Speaker, while the issues of COVID-19 were still prevalent in 2021, ICSA has regained momentum from the effects of the pandemic and have made significant progress towards achieving some of its key priority activities. The appointment of the Chief Migration Officer has accelerated the developments in the authority with several reforms and have advanced and achieved most of the long overdue activities that have been pertinent for some time. The transfer and incorporation of the Foreign Employment Division of the Department of Labour to ICSA was an achievement for the authority to effect the government's one-stop shop concept. ICSA is now the mandated agency to issue both visa and work permits. We still have a lot to do to ensure this process is moved more efficiently and faster. On the international front, 2021 saw ICSA entered into reciprocal visa arrangements with several countries as part of government's decision to promote PNG's interests abroad in relation to attracting trade and investment opportunities and tourism. A lot more countries are being negotiated with to allow them visa on arrival on our shores in Papua New Guinea, including a lot of our Pacific Island countries. Mr. Assistant Speaker, 2022 saw increased record of processing and issuance of visitors' visa as a result of the lessening of COVID-19 restrictions, the reopening of international borders and lifting of the ban on international travel. Despite anticipated challenges, the authority has prevailed in producing milestone achievements. Notable achievements include the successful signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with IRC, IPA, and NGCB for information sharing in areas of interest and cooperation. To continue ICSA's reach and expansion drive into provinces, the authority elevated the status of its offices in Mount Hagen and Kokopo to regional status and opened a new border post at Buin in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Also, new seaport offices were opened at Motukea International Seaport in Port Moresby and Rabaul Seaport in East New Britain Province. At this juncture, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our board members, the former board members and the new board members, dedicated and hardworking management and staff of ICSA and my ministerial staff on these achievements. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker, and I now commend this to the floor of this Honourable House.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, I move that the Minister's statement be noted and debates be made on order of the day for a subsequent sitting, please.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Minister for Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Pursuant to status, I present the annual report of the National Housing Corporation for the year 2022. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I ask leave of the Parliament to make a statement in connection with the report.
Kelly Brandon. Make a speech, Mr. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. I'm grateful to be given this opportunity to present my maiden speech on the affairs of the National Housing Corporation, together with the Marabe Rosso Government Housing Policy Directions to this Honourable House. From the outset, I would like to thank the Marabe Rosso government for having confidence in my leadership and elevating me from Vice Minister for National Planning in the previous term to this ministry. I wish to inform this Honourable House too that I have been recently made aware of the 26 recommendations in the 2009 NHE report by the Public Accounts Committee and will seriously look into it and ensure that appropriate actions are taken forthwith. Mr. Assistant Speaker, for the record, we have submitted the official National Housing Corporation Annual Report 2022 to the Office of the Chief Secretary to the government in March 2023. Here is an excerpt of the 2022 annual report, of which I am happy to present to this Honourable House as part of the statutory requirement. Mr. Assistant Speaker, as you may or may not know, the National Housing Corporation is governed by an outdated National Housing Corporation Act of 1990 and is currently under the review and will be finalized soon for this Honourable House to rectify. Its main mandate is to provide quality and affordable housing for all the public service and at the same time to generate some revenue to sustain its operations and to pay some dividend back to the state as it's the major shareholder. As we know, housing or shelter is also a universal right that is explicitly advocated by the United Nations and is closely supported by all major government policy directives. Mr. Assistant Speaker, as one of the rural district-based Member of Parliament, my focus was on equitable distribution of national wealth and services from the urban districts to the rural district, as supported by the 10-20-70 distribution of ratio of public goods and services decentralization policy. Since taking up the office in August 24th of 2022, I have made it known to my predecessor, colleague, minister, and the National Housing Corporation senior management that my key development priorities and focus in the housing ministry will be on 1. Addressing legacy issues with workable and clear-cut solutions. Revenue generation with a view to declare the dividend to the state. 3. Providing quality houses for civil servants in rural and urban districts. 4. Continue maintenance on all rundown National Housing Corporation properties. 5. Installation of online asset management inventory system. And 6. Adoption of cashless policy using online payment system. Mr. Assistant Speaker, apart from the above outlined initiatives, I have realized that there are 3 key outstanding management policy documents that will be refined and finalized for National Housing Corporation to move forward, and these are 1990 National Housing Act, 1994 National Housing Policy, and 2023 to 2027 corporate plan in line with the MTD4 recently been launched. Mr. Acting Speaker, the three developers, namely Mr. Acting Speaker, in my numerous meetings with the Prime Minister, he has reiterated that the National Housing Corporation is the only mandated government agency that must work in close collaboration with all government agencies to provide quality and affordable housing for all Papua New Guineans. The Marape Rosso government is adamant in its stance and has allocated 150 million through Lands Department to secure loan throughout Papua New Guinea to implement these government housing policy directives. Therefore, the National Housing Corporation and the Department of Lands and Physical Planning have been tasked to secure 10,000 hectares of land to build quality and affordable houses, targeting various brackets of our population throughout the country. National Housing Corporation has a total unimproved land area of 580.5 hectares, and the residual will be sought from the Department of Lands and Physical Planning to reach the target figure of 10,000 hectares per annum hectares under this term of Marape Rosso government. The province of 1 to 3 bedroom houses under this government supported land acquisition program will be made affordable for all citizens and acquire irrespective of their employment status. Mr. Acting Speaker, subsequently, the Marape Rosso government for the first time has made available 20 million under the 2023 development budget to advance the Duran Farm public sector housing project in this term of government. This was never heard of in the past and will be a major impact project of this government. Mr. Acting Speaker, the three developers, namely PNG Resource Owner Ltd, Roads PNG Ltd, and China Steel, have been directed to erect their 2 to 4 bedroom modular houses by end of June 2023 to showcase to the public. The other two important projects that the government is also supporting is the refurbishment of the National Housing Corporation headquarters at Tokarara and the maintenance work on the rundown rented properties nationwide. Work has already commenced in NCD and will soon be extended to cover the other provinces. Additionally, Mr. Acting Speaker, the regional officers will be given the much needed facelift. Started from Goroka, we have completed Goroka, then now into Ley, and finally to Rabaul. The provincial office will also be given the same attention as part of the institutional strengthening and capacity building exercise in the new look NHC under this government. Mr. Acting Speaker, having said that, I wish now to present a brief report on the NHC operation since I took office. The report is organized into 14 thematic headings, and it is consistent with the ministry and the management key research areas. Number 1, Mr. Speaker, Acting Speaker, formalization of the National Housing Corporation Special Procurement Committee. The long-awaited National Housing NHC Special Procurement Committee was finally sworn in to the office in January 2023 and will have been overseeing the awarding of all procurement, supply and construction contracts within the range of 1 million to 5 million. This was a protracted issue since 2001 until we came into office and got it off. Two, regional office facelift. As part of the new look NHC, I have instructed the senior management team to swiftly renovate the 3 regional offices in our efforts to restore public confidence and lure private sector investment into NHC operations. The renovations work at Goroka office has been completed, and we are now working on Ley office and will soon move over to Rabaul. Mr. Speaker, number 3, 1990 NHC Act. The review work on this outdated 1990 NHC Act has begun with professional assistance coming from the Constitutional Law Reform Commission under the Department of Justice and Attorney General. The revised document is now pending external consultation with relevant stakeholders before its finalization to NEC, and eventually to this Honourable House for its ratification before this Parliament goes into recess. Number 4, 1994 National Housing Policy. This is also another outdated but important document that is pending completion. The document has been updated and is pending external consultation with key stakeholders. This review exercise has been supported by the amount of funding of 400,000 and is expected to be completed by September, but it's already been completed, both egg and what. This is the whole report I'm bringing to Parliament. Number 5, NHC Corporate Plan. Again, this is an important document and has been missing for a long time. The final draft is pending external input from the key stakeholders, including MCD4. It will piggyback from the revised NHC Act and the National Housing Policy. Once both documents are finalized, for the first time NHC will be more focused with a clear sense of direction to achieve its organizational objectives. Unlike in the yesterdays, the final version of the document is expected to be launched by September, but we have shifted to maybe end of October we launch it, end of this month. Number 6, financial position. The current financial position of NHC as at December 2022 to May 2023 stands as payroll liabilities 30.3 million, outstanding staff entitlements 1.1 million, creditors or service providers 14.8 million, outstanding audit fees 800,000, total of 47 million. For the record, NHC is technically insolvent given its accumulated liabilities over the years and will definitely need adequate injection of funds from the government to bail itself out of its financial predicament. Mr. Assistant Speaker, also, the Department of Finance is yet to transfer a sum of 34 million from the wrong-coded rental payment to NHC coffer. This current practice is such that all NHC rented property payment is made to the Department of Finance Consolidated Revenue account, whilst NHC receives nothing, and therefore the Department of Finance must agree to reverse this method of payment forthwith. Mr. Assistant Speaker, this outstanding amount will not only boost the NHC efforts to renovate rundown properties nationwide, but will also help towards building new houses for all citizens to lease from NHC, which will in turn generate the much needed revenue. NHC is occupying a temporary office up at the APS 8 Mile, and work on the cloud-based and wireless network is going on. We will work closely with the Department of Information Communication Technology to ensure that we are using the One Government ICT platform. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the financials for 2018, 2019, 2020 have been submitted to the Auditor General Office in March 2022. Work on the 21-22 financials are progressing well and will be delivered to Auditor General Office soon. Also, National Housing Corporation has already established an external audit committee as directed by the government to the Department of Finance as part of the statutory reporting compliance. Mr. Assistant Speaker, there are still leakages and grey areas in the daily operations of the National Housing Corporation. And a case in point is the payment of hefty allowances to officers who sit in 3 PIP-funded project meetings, including technical, financial and evaluation committee meetings, and even National Housing Corporation special procurement meetings. Unnecessary payment. Otherwise, we have stopped that one already. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I have directed the senior management to put a stop and to consult the Department of Finance to ensure that such allowances and rates are provided within the Financial Management Act. We have also installed the BSP Act post machine to NHC 8 Mile office for payment purpose, and at the same time will apply to all regional and provincial centers. This will help minimize manual cash transaction and possible theft. Mr. Assistant Speaker, Human Resource. National Housing Corporation has a total DPM approved position of 322, of which 199 have been filled. but is still faced with a skill gap deficiency syndrome over the years. The poor performance and incompetency of the 5 long-serving senior executives is a testament to this fact, which resulted in the redundancy early this year. An external professional recruitment firm will be Jen Gates come July 2023 to recruit the most qualified personnel with postgraduate qualification and industrial experiences from the 4 regions in our efforts to have the right skills set and well-balanced workforce within the organization. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the 2016 organizational structure is outdated and will soon be reviewed by an external professional HR firm to be on par with the industry and market trend. This will conform to the international standards and best organizational practice that is currently lacking in National Housing Corporation. Mr. Assistant Speaker, also National Housing Corporation is using 2 payroll systems, and I have issued a stern directive to immediately cease the in-house CRISP payroll and consolidate into government's Alaska payroll system. This has resulted in a cost saving of $50,000 from this payroll exercise. The 120 residual staff will be absorbed into government Alaska payroll by end of 2023. Also, a backlog of 31 retirees have been settled under the DPM retirement program in 2022, and we will continue in 2023. Mr. Speaker, National Housing Corporation properties. NHC has a total property of about 9,847 throughout the country. Southern region has by far the largest with 6,864, followed by Highlands with 1,168, Mamase with 1,082, and NGI with 734, and a special region of Bougainville is about 700. In terms of rental areas, Southern region again is the forefront with 15 million, Highlands with 8.56 million, Mamase with 5.43 million, and NGI with 4.56 million. Both the total number of properties and rental areas will be looked at under the triple V exercise. A nationwide triple V stands for verification, valuation, and validation. Exercise will be conducted soon to exactly determine the correct number of National Housing Corporation properties, its rightful tenants, the rent defaultees, ultimately the true net work of NHC. Mr. Assistant Speaker, it will start in National Housing in NCD, then to lay and later extended to cover all other provincial centers comes July 2023. It is also gratifying to note that the Mara Barroso government has again allocated $1 million under the 2023 recurrent budget to implement in this exercise, in this in-house exercise. The big 4 accounting firms, namely KPMG, Ernst Young, PwC, and Deloitte Professional Expertise will be solicited to bring about the necessary financial and administrative reforms, as well as to put in place a feasible investment plan for National Housing Corporation to be self-financing over the years. One of the major outcomes of this exercise is for National Housing Corporation to have digital assets management inventory system for the first time under the new look NHC. We have also tidy up the fixed asset registry into master files, as well as devising a new tenancy lease agreement in our efforts to clean up the yesterday-year's mess. Mr. Assistant Speaker, litigation matters. The National Housing Corporation, the National Housing Estates Limited, which is the commercial arm of National Housing Corporation, has been dismantled by the NEC in its decision number 96/2022. A total of 75 prime properties has been vested to NHEL and must be transferred back to NHC, but it's now a matter of contention between NHC and the liquidators. There is also tussle between the NHC and the ex-DCA properties that the court has granted in favor of NHC, but will require both ministers, me and my counterpart, to agree on the content of the consent court order. NHC, with the external legal aid, have saved in excess of 3.3 million and has successfully reduced litigation from 600 to 300 plus now. The National Court, Mr. Assistant Speaker, the National Court of December of 2028 of April 23 has quashed the appointment process of the incumbent managing director, as appealed by the incumbent managing director, is now before the Supreme Court for its deliberation. Well, it's gone already. We have a new MD, but this report from the past, I read as it is for record. However, given the vacuum in position of the managing director, then I skip that, I go straight to 10. National Housing Board and Managing Directors. All the necessary paperwork was done. We had a new board appointed. Board are ready to wait for the government gazettal and ready to be sworn in. Go straight to number 11, there's TVWAN Farm and Public Sector Housing Project. Mr. Assistant Speaker, this is a fully government-funded project which commenced in 2014 at the outskirts of NCD 9 Mile. The project has so far consumed 28.5 million since 2014 to 2022, with mixed result on the ground. Nonetheless, the Marape Rosso government, for the first time, has allocated 20 million in this year's budget to assist us to continue. The three out of 6 developers, namely PNG Resource Limited, Roads Ltd, and China Steel, have been directed to erect houses on site, and the government agencies or public to view and select based on their choice and affordability. The TVWAN Farm project team has been directed to fast-track the installation of basic utility services to the project site to enable the construction of the houses to begin by December 2023. Mr. Assistant Speaker, 4 government agencies have signed an MOU with NHC to purchase land at the TVWAN Farm, and a few more registered their interest, but have placed a moratorium, and I have placed a moratorium on MOU signing until such a time that I can actually see the building construction work taking place, and then they come in to sign. A sum of 4 million, Mr. Speaker, has been paid to Australian Not Built Company in 2022 to remove 40 asbestos houses built by the previous Chinese contractor. This is an oversight from the previous NHC management team and a drain on the limited project budget. Mr. Speaker, installation of water main to stage 1 has been completed in mid-January 2023 and is ready for reticulation. The payment for PPL, PNG Power Limited, main grid has been done in February 2023 and is pending the license contractor to erect the poles. But unfortunately, we have finished and lighting was done on Thursday. So all water, sewage are all in now. 12, National Housing Corporation flat renovations. This is another government-funded project with an initial seed capital of 2 million in 2022 and an additional 1 million in 2023 under the development budget. Maintenance work in targeted or prime property locations to fetch quick and sizable return on investment before moving into other property locations. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the maintenance work has commenced in NCD since 2022 and will roll out to another provincial center soon. A 6x3 bedroom unit at Manu Outer Port has been completed at a cost of 600 plus 689,000 in 22 by Foreign Sponsor. In fact, I didn't open it. I kept it there until they give me full report. I'll open it, and it's still there. The next under minor maintenance, the next under minor maintenance work is the 8x2 bedrooms unit at Tokarara at the cost of 276,000 by CJ Construction. The same is done on the adjustment of 6x2 bedroom units at a cost of 2026 by Clayfield Maintenance Construction Ltd, with a slight variation in cost to complete the task. There is also, Mr. Assistant Speaker, an additional minor refurbishment work at the duplex bed sitters unit at Gerehu by Kim Kim Integrated Services at a cost of 275,000+, which might incur cost variation to bring to completion. Number 13, National Housing Head Office Refurbishment, Tokarara. This is the third PIP-funded project, of which a total of 18 million has been allocated by the government since 2021 to date. However, the minor or major construction work at the project site to date is still at a snail phase. Hence, the National Housing Corporation project team needs to step up to fast-track the paperwork to get the minor contracts approved by the National Housing Corporation Special Procurement Committee, whilst the major building contract will go before the National Procurement Commission for its approval. On this account, we have already started the 3 buildings now. The major one is there. There was a bit of slow in setting up procurement, and that's why we held back until procurement was set up earlier this year. We are in the progress now. It's looking good. Now, 14, commercial investment. A total of 48 agencies have registered their interest to purchase property in Durand Farm so far. As stated earlier, 4 government entities have actually signed MOUs. We have established a good rapport with key development partners such as the commercial banks, superannuation funds, the government agencies to acquire institutional houses or staff home ownership under the current arrangement or on a mutually agreed terms and conditions to be laid by NHC. We are also exploring other financial and investment models to complement with the technical input coming from the big four after the completion of the triple V exercise. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I come to ask you, this Honourable House, that the NHC under my leadership is poised with greater heights and will require our collective efforts and political will to change things around. Instilling a good corporate governance and sense management culture is a key driver in any successful organization, of which NHC is undergoing at this point in time, and will soon become a formidable force in the provision of quality and affordable housing for all its citizens during this term of government. It is imperative that, Mr. Speaker, we embrace a whole of government approach to meet the Amara Barroso government policy directives, and which without will be a mission impossible. To conclude, National Housing Corporation, as mandated government housing agencies, stands ready to work with all government institutions, private sector and international development partners to deliver a cost-effective housing solutions for all Papua New Guineans without leaving anyone behind in this journey. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I commend this report to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, Assistant Speaker, before by me talk, me like him, Parliament take note. Long this paper, Minister presenting me come on this Honourable House. Now me like him talk.
Go ahead.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, I was want to big plus something long world. In all of Papua New Guinea, that's all the world. You know piscine, or you know animal, human being, and by sleep good. Time and sleep good, spirit blowing them stop good, body blowing them stop good, thinking blowing them stop good. And by making walk, when I'm walk, I'm supposed to make him, and by walking walk good. Inside on this country, before my Mr. Rukim Legleg, Minister Mitok, thank you, past time. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Long you bring him statement. He come. You talk about long condition. Long all houses stop inside. Long National Housing Corporation want them all property. Na I was all man walk sleep. Condition blown mouse all man walk sleep. Na plain blong government long making sense long by making improving this condition belong house belong all people is sleep, more particularly public servants for this country. Now, Minister, you making this statement, putting country long notice also this government, and we by work seriously long making sure this problem by sorted out. That's all. You ask him, consider the effort. You ask him, all our leaders, not relevant department or whatever, long helping you, long making this demand you karim kai kai. Long this point, me talk thank you to you. Matem government belong this country. Mr. Speaker, come back in the point, long house. Me talk past time house and very important. Very important. Now me by surging talk me long house long all public servant. All the public servant inside of this country want them disciplinary forces, also the line, all by sleep long house long making work long government. Mr. Assistant Speaker, you mean government, you mean come long parliament, you go long provincial parliament, you mean by dreaman or some leader, you mean by talk long when something and good problem this country. You mean by making this thing come up, you mean by putting money long budget, Mr. Assistant Speaker, long making sure also when thing plan you mean by Karim Kai. Now I'm work long leader, Mr. Assistant Speaker. So usha through by helping you me long carry out this dream man belong you me long action belong good place sit down belong people of this country. Usha through by making this by happen. Mr. Assistant Speaker, long scaling belong me and all public servants. All public servants long all department inside on this country. Public servants, only school pennies, only kids in work, only in place, only colonial place, long carry out work, long public service. Long department long health, department long education, department long agriculture, department long law and order, all our department, only in place. All come out on another place, long making work, belong sit down with people, could sit down with people, belong this country, Mr. Speaker. Time will come along one of my place, so it's impossible to sit down on him, make him walk. Only to find that house belong all. House. Buruk nabout. Totally did not stop good. Buruk nabout. What a walk come no roof and they come down. Buruk now, place belong cook and not stop good. All plenty all termites come inside na kagem all house na house like close to the Buruk long em. Oba look in this house. Oba worry about kill him all. Now this whole family carry him all, this whole officers he carry family blow. Mary picking blow one time now only go make him walk. Now only look in this house. Worry about kill him all. Now spirit nothing to blow make him walk by no not stop good, Mr. Minister in the Parliament. And by no not stop good. Now Mr. Assistant Speaker, long this walk, this passing. And all when you not working walk good. All not working go good. Time me finish the university, long 1984, me graduate as a lawyer and me come out. No one want house for me. Me work on public service, me work on Justice Department or public solicitor. Also you work on public solicitor but you work. That's what house when no house. Me sleep on settlement one time or one talk on 7 miles, a 6 mile settlement. Me sleep here. Let me carry him gown blue me and me go walk. Go on PNB and go walk. All man can lawyer come here. I'm dressed up here, black and white here. Now carry him briefcase belong in one time gown here. Me carry him they go. When I can lawyer by sleep on settlement they come out and walk. All man up me here. Now me say also not just the legal department but all other department too affect him. All two got same problem. Mr. Assistant Speaker, me let's talk in this Parliament and talk in this country. How say me big plus something, Mr. Minister? How say big plus something? Now you mean my state house. You go down and lay. On man we're going to talk on National Housing Commission as well. National Housing Commission or ME when I'm a house. You know National Housing Commission. Belong helping more public servant. All man on sleep on this house, all going to sleep here, yeah. All no paying rent, all going to sleep here, yeah. All apply location ownership of this property. All going to sleep here, yeah. All finish the work, that's all going to sleep here, yeah. Na kama pim piginini, na kama pim tumbuna, na kama pim sample tumbuna moye di goya, all going to sleep in the same house here, yeah. And it's something blow. All make him stop here. No, I want maintenance come up on this house here. National Housing Commission of working on maintenance will happen. Also, me blow go wait team National Housing Commission or government by making decision and me play by same house now. All go stop here. That's a new public service can done by city blow one map. New public service all Peninsula University or Kim work here. All by city blow one map. All was in piscina by city blow when a man blow mal duay. All by city boy. All by city blow ceremony by making about long end. Moral blow all. Moral long walk long. One kind department only qualified to walk long in there. Moral is affected. Moral is affected. Now this like come up in big place cycle this country. You know, only now was good. Now only now long. There is a good come walk here. Mr. Acting Speaker, Assistant Speaker. Now plenty public service now with him gin trusses now with him. One of me a collar shirt now, one of me a t-shirt now. But you go public service. You go walk. Hey, me lawyer man, me dress up good na me dress up good ya. Me police him shoe, blow me in a black plate trousers, na white shirt, na tacky go inside, na me go walk ya. Today, public service, dress him blow no come stand it. No come stand it ya. All me get about ya. All the public servant, all teacher too. Plenty boy pass on when I'm here. Part of when I'm here, mouse blow ya. Sample smoke, I blow student, na you go teach ya. This is come up because all the city long good house, the number about you making number about all two number about long all mangin or walk long all two number about. This is a country moral belong and you go down over there. If you want to talk big development by come up, if you want to talk, if you want to talk this one and me work no RM staff. That's the time all money no sleep good, all money no KK good, money no respect with dignity belong man is stable on no thing. And we do not perform to the expectation. Who is going to implement our policy? Who's going to implement our policy? Nobody is, by the law, has the power to implement the government policy. People who have the power to implement, people who have the obligation to implement the government policy are the public servant. Public servant of this country. Now make him happy, you remember, yeah. You may keep sample, me no government, me no working, so me work looking for sample member. You will like come a public servant, you play it and you work stop, yeah? Me look low. You will let it go when I'm up now. You will let it go to, you will look like start one play by driving bulldozer and walking road or this by walking. Because moral public servants, you know, stop now. Public servants too, because of moral, no stop good, all still now, make him kind of vaccine now. Make him hard remember, you mean, yeah? Make him hard now. You mean like a public service, so you sort of about make him stop here? It's all over the places. Mr. Housing Minister, please you must straighten work plan housing in this country. You must say them. All public servants, all by sleep good. This house must be for public servant. Whatever department, this house must be for public servant. Time me finish the work, time me mixing transfer, go on another plan. Okay, not the public servants by come like since the place, this house. You know, by him staff can apply long kitchen this house now. Asking housing commission about buying this property. Now, housing commission, the government thinking long, not the public servants by come but silly boy. And by silly boy, no making work. If you come many members thinking, this idea of buy more houses from public along National Housing Commission, like simply you mean. This idea you mean must lose him. This person you mean must lose him. You must think, Mr. Assistant Speaker, no building permanent house from public servant. Now this house from public servant, you go, when them time you go come and maintain him, and by work stop. You know, and finish public servants and work hold him house belonging also out this house also house belonging. And this like make him hard long, I'll play new man by come inside. Now, Mr. Minister, me like him, you must take him stand now. You're not going to play long public servant because they are the mandated people to implement the government policy, to make sure whatever social services we're supposed to get in this country, whatever the infrastructure that we're supposed to get in this country, they are the people who are qualified to make sure that we achieve those dreams are being materialized. Nobody else. You look at company operate good, yeah? Company give him house long, all company workers, all he sleep good, all he work good, company making profit, company got name, company rich, company provide him service long country and staff. That's all public servant. Public service, you must work him good. And one area, Mr. Assistant Speaker, that you must look on and housing. Putting money go inside, work him house to government house. Mr. Acting Speaker, government house. Belong government. Title by staff long government. House name belong by staff long government. You want a public servant, you work, finish, go out. House by staff long government also. Mr. Acting Speaker, Mr. Minister, one something. Now some pay long this officer. Time me move we go inside, deduct him straight long, salary belong him. No one lose him a long campaign. Because him by no campaign. Some behavior can bring him and by no campaign. Make him also you buy money way long, you by maintaining flower houses. You deduct him straight long, pay long, all the public servant, you deduct him. The moment you go inside, you deduct him. So the use the money is coming and come straight. And come straight to post government. Or in your government, you dislow National Housing Corporation. And you come straight there, money comes straight. All got a plate, all got a L40 house, all got a Hill 60 house, all got a Hill 120 house, all got the money comes straight long, you long National Housing Corporation. You hold him this house, money stop. You got money, you go maintain him to floor houses. You got money. You don't have to go and ask anybody. You don't have to go ask him floor man. Money you deduct him long. Government by deduct him long, pay long in there. Money comes straight there. You can maintain him. House is in order. House by stable order, Mr. Assistant Speaker. All by stable order. Public service come in, public service go out. Suppose him saving money, blow walk him house long, one him up. Low block, belong him, block, or no settlement, one him up. Him something belong in. And we can get up him out to the slab. That's all government house, government property, lose him stuff. This way you must make him. Because time you make him, moral public servants by staff good. All by amamas. Get up the money, long quarter to wait, only go start work. Finish to 406. Time him come back to the house and say, also, many beginnings down good stuff. Many beginnings down good. What are you run good? Light you come good. House him staff good. Him come sleep good, kiss him belly sin sleep, maybe don't cook him kaya good through sleep. No worry. Hey, remember long like us to talk here? Hey, remember long Mendi talk here? Hey, remember long Kagua talk here? Hey, governor long Jiwaka talk here? And by Kirabna in and sleep good here. And by Kirabna you go walk. And Tintin walking walk long government. That's the point. And sleep good now. Tintin walking walk long government. Now by walking walk long good. Now you remember you were passing policy, decision you will make him, Mr. Acting Speaker. You will make him. We are guaranteed, we are assured that that policy is going to be implemented. It's going to be implemented because we have a public servant who is well conditioned. He's well conditioned, he's paid, he get a good pay, his accommodation is in order, all something is in order. Now mama must not by walk. It's a country, you may sleep here. Time to Australia. Me mangina me look here. All I'm going walk. All country all walk. We look him here. House only stop good through here. Huh? House only stop good through. Huh? All you two three stop good through in the man. Also now minutes I look in one Papua New Guinea I wear him short plate trousers now, put him socks come and double knee blowing. Now minutes I look him here. Now long plate trousers that's all miss I look stop but short plate trousers na socks come and up here. Minute look him. Socks come and up because him sleep good. Him was what's good. Now me dress up good through, na kaya blong cut him so through, and me gonna walk. Moral money him stop good, and me can walk good. Today, moral money no stop good, because money no sleep good, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Money no kaya good, huh? That is why you look at some of public service people all steal, you will complain, eh? All steal ya. Ah, member taso by some money, huh? And money will member taso. Now look at the record there. Only you can money, travel money, go inside one corner now, only got power on rouse him here, only rouse him here, or rouse him someplace, go walk him out to the settlement and block here. You want to go on him. You know, Boston recording stuff by you, you will pile up, no, and double
help on the way run hospital the way when something or kuka or karasuru when volcan can binatan will walk sample ya you look you know look ya or belat now to walk him me can talk him you me or belat now walk him you me can I say last time the debate last week me talk rascal ya I mean me talk rascal though boy believe me finish university na make stop na block na belat na make him ya I'm not going to walk out and make him ya now public savings condition blow no stop good Mr. Assistant Speaker all my bagara from this country ya you will going to complain ya you will going to complain you may think play na you will going to talk that's all make him plan to talk him will make him that's all you mean look at him good public service suppose time you look at him good Mr. Acting Speaker time you look at him good in a public service in a walk finance officer in a walk you better talking why me will finish him in a walk here why you finish me here huh and I come to talk to bloody me give you good floor house now you sleep now you walk to big stop here now when you finish now you going to place now planning now you stop huh and this is by making me worry Mr. Assistant Speaker now I'm by half to date lo work plan it's a common sense you don't need long go to university lo line him passing the thing I don't need him and we just need him common sense leaderable you me lo spending money wisely Mr. Assistant Speaker so housing commission minister me support him you will to talk you make him statement and you will to tell lane and you going to talk is no west taraka is no west na taraka bandri road iriku is now se lo bagala bulgada ya e bagala bulgada na one time you putting money gonna fix him but I think based on sari mo this blouse going all na you may start fresh so kind of him putting brand new houses now applying laws and now you're going to propose to become stop making laws him so that everybody saws him house and belong government MW and belong government you finish long government you go long house for you saving money and you work him house for you but house belong government house belong government me finish long government some line come behind all by three this house now or work belong government by stop good administrative government is stop good political government is stop good okay now or something stop good now country will develop good country will prosper good that's why administrative government name stop worry now you politician you stop no you will para plan and up nothing well believe me more than making stop long and also worry believe plan me stop 10 years here me will him to talk public seven there me are him to talk long there me stop 15 years government here me smart me round and up me making talk now me stop want him joining post joining money blow me stop here me will him all to talk here all yet by how much no and up stop now people by no at house now by stop now about who said we can walk blow me play to steal ya that is why you going to say to me no block you look him all money is like simpay all will spark ya all will spark ya kasi money wa kasi money online belong all walk public servants ya all steal ya all can be on Friday no all street ya big play through remember all kaya na league one and people belong and me plug drain now the walking stop ya that's a true fact of this country it's a true fact also now you mean revolutionary change even when to talk not you know buying property na housing commission by working business na come up in money and same corruption by go you mean to talk now put him leg blame go down straight na talk house from government and house from government me believe this house from government long all the cities all the town all the district area all the LLG you mean work him house from public servants good you mean maintain him good you mean charge him good usat sleep long happy allow him straight long pay now money we are secured there's this money there that's what we have to do you don't require to go to university and become an accountant or whatever long working this or something and simple something and common sense you may have some common sense now you long sample kind sense now you may follow all that sample sense flow usat man you may like receive some sense flow usat you may look some sense flow human being and by him come straight minister me support him you suppose whenever you know what money long whenever working house long government no more okay sample houses na sample houses run down or sample when I'm ground stop nothing there sari me come no more be prince government na me ba putting money na me working house for public servants na me no need lo you and you no need lo me and something and me working finish behind him think time of debate has left nobody 1 minute stop Mr. 1 minute stop middle blow so Mr. Speaker Minister me ba saboni me full kapan belum yumi, kapan belum pangpati, kapan belum yumi, ikan sample good ting so me play work one time. Now, Mr. Speaker, thank you reminding me. Now, me finish him straight lot time now. Thank you, through.
Honorable Governor for NCD. Thank you, Assistant Speaker, to give me time to debate this important paper and minister I'm presenting. In particular, I must you give me time because, me play line along urban centers, our urban electorate. Me play plenty time, me play feel also balance to much the parliament because agenda of the parliament or national agenda is tilted mainly towards rural agenda. So you may understand this law, plenty you all members representing all rural electorate. Our population are in the rural areas, but in the city too, we are equally important in the towns, the urban centers. Urban center, we host them government, host them all private sector, all churches, NGOs, and from the urban center, we go out to provide service, goods, and development to the rural areas. And there is a dialogue, of course, but important me to thank you in that respect that you give me line on urban areas a bit of time to also comment on this very important paper that the minister has presented. I think second, I'd like to thank you, the minister. Me come to Parliament, I think now 16 years, fourth term. Minister I go come. Some of the minister to me, several all personally. But there's a kind report, come to us, Parliament. So we can debate it and we can help the minister to take on this very important responsibility in charge long enough. All people depend on this when I'm housing. And Governor Morabe talk panis, it's a basic of life. You must get shelter. And in the cities, especially Port Moresby, Mr. Assistant Speaker, you can look him. I think 40% or nearly 50% of the development in the city are unplanned. Not got proper housing, not got proper tenure of title. People are in insecure title, so only working basic tasol long is stopped because anytime maybe title holder or government by giving title legal on urban line, so only working settlement here. Not just in Port Moresby, but all over the country. All urban centers people looking. And the fact is, we must acknowledge, Mr. Assistant Speaker and honorable members, time independence come, housing corporation is stop building houses. No more. In the city, Port Moresby, for example, all the suburbs that they come up now, most of it anyway, colonial projects here. Start hola igo logereuna, olgada borokona, koroboseana. And what new suburbs have we built since gaining independence on 16 September 1975? No good testimony lo Yumi. Now it's 8 mile, 9 mile. You can look him. Self-help. All people believe me, walk him nothing. So this is a problem here and big problem. It affects productivity. It affects social condition. It contributes to law and order and kind of thing. People only live long, very bad environment. They develop bad attitude.
Yes, true. That's true.
Everything is connected. And so we must take this challenge seriously. Me and Muslim Minister last Friday when the Prime Minister, me plus some members of Parliament, two open member of the UMI, me plus go on top long. Duran Farm switch on the lights for the first time. It's a small, start, but I hope, Minister now will drive it and that Duran Farm will be completed. Duran Farm will start 2014 here. Now, plenty foul play to mass. Kind self-interest or whatever you may involve long and now. Duran Farm and don't come up. So maybe government, we cannot build houses. So. So, me not like complain too much. What I want to contribute to, I'll try to keep my debate short so that you can go to other papers. I think Minister of Forest like giving paper too. I want to see if we can come up with some suggestion or proposal. Help him, Minister. You may not just point about problems. Help him, Minister. I think one thing you can look him. I can speak generally as him. Our people, Assistant Speaker and members of Parliament, they want to build houses. All got money too, yeah. They want to build palaces and grand houses and you got swimming pool or whatever, all like working here. But all got access to land. They don't have security of tenure. Minister of Lands, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, I'm sorry. Me will para me ba para because me no got power on ground. Me got power on ground. I think me give him one go finish. But me no got power, so the best I can do is talk now, complain. So you plug and look him, for example, in the city, you go down in Port Moresby, go down to Tarama towards the beach. It's customary land. All landowners work him deal with them Papua New Guineans. Me too, one of them. And I built a 5-story building there. Not 5-story, 5 bedroom. Mix him loan now, we go work him house long up. Because the customary landowner, I have an agreement with them. I pay the dues every year. And I have security of title. Me go to bank and I mortgage my house at Gerew. Those type of arrangement can be made. And look at the rest of the Tarama beach. People have security of tenure, only building good house. Minister, members of Parliament, this can be done. Minister of Lands, Deputy Prime Minister, please find him way to release him title equal all people believe me. Even in 8 Mile or 9 Mile, I believe, and people are working settlement to suburb upgrading law, 9 Mile quarry. You all go and see it now. People are working road, working drainage. Now we are waiting for PNG Power and Water PNG to bring in water. The people there will start building house here. House here that they want to live in comfortable, good environment with their families and children. Huh? We must release land. So, something between the Minister of Housing, the Minister of Lands, let's look at the way forward. We release land to go along private sector. People are looking Canadian estate, whatever, Malolo estate, what's the other estate? Skyview now, the private sector is building houses. Why are we not partnering them? Let's partner them. If government cannot do it, let's partner them. You may come back, I'm talking about solutions here. We can point out the problems. You may help him, Minister, and help him, Deputy Prime Minister too. You can work in Lolay too, Deputy Prime Minister. Government complain East Taraka, West Taraka, and Wenema. Well, if it's all housing corporation land, self-help scheme, why don't you give him ground law online law place now? Online law, West Taraka and East Taraka. Give him ground law all. Government, you may get giveaway scheme here. What's happening to the giveaway scheme? Give him title online law, Kaugerena, Joyce Bay, Sabamana. They've been sitting on that land for all this time. They can't develop it, redevelop it, because they don't have security of tenure. Minister, release him title all. Why they have to pay? Or if there's money that you need, okay, Liis Wante Mipla Samla in NCDC, we could help our people here, Joyce Bay, Long Kaugereo, Sabamao. We pay the outstanding dues, and then you release it, the title Golongol, and it is up to us, municipal authorities of government, in Leo, in Mosby, in Rabaul, or Hagen, will help these people make sure that they build houses, decent house, to the standard of urban centers. That's another way forward. Another way forward to Minister and Prime Minister Yumel Gadatu, you look at the asset blown. When I'm National Housing Corporation, 9,847 houses all around the country. Now, if we value it, and you may work in inventory long end, Minister, you could go to the bank. Go to the bank and get a loan and improve the existing house so that all those people can pay rents. And also you get loan or, get capital to build more houses. That way, Housing Corporation will start to deliver its vision and goals. Because it is an entity that started at independence, building house, providing basic housing, affordable housing, people believe. But since independence come up now, it's failed our people. And then now you may complain long. Settlement after settlement, Mipla line of CD2, we are trying to stop the settlement, finish it, but it's endless task. So I believe Housing Corporation can, corporatize, it's corporatized now, do an inventory, go to the bank, BSP and say, this is what I'm worth. This is my revenue stream. You give me this amount of money. That's what in Port Moresby we do sometimes, to build the roads in Port Moresby. We have an inventory, we know our cash flow, we go to BSP, you giving me this amount of money, I build these roads, I have a means of paying you back. That's how your city is transforming. I would like to encourage all government departments, housing to come up with a type of plan. Don't wait for national government to give me Prime Minister, and must look out in Papua New Guinea, kind up. Some things we have asset that is got value long end. Let's make sure or see how we can, add value to this valuable asset that we have. And we do things that make things happen. Build houses. That's another suggestion me like talk. Minister too and Mr. Assistant Speaker me like suggest too for Minister and government to look at models in other countries. How to, enable affordable housing, social housing. And we have, I think, classic example, Assistant Speaker, in the world is in Singapore. Singapore, they are able to provide house for all the people there. How they do it and how they finance it, it's still a government initiative. It's not a private sector initiative. It's a successful government initiative. And they've come up with how to finance it and how to get the people of Singapore to be able to afford the loans to pay for their flats. Now, all housing belong. Let's look at this model. There are models too that exist in Asia, like in Malaysia, in the Philippines. You may look in big population. They have to come up with this type of plan. They work with the United Nations agency like UN Habitat, come up with social housing. Let's look at some of these models and see if they can work. So we provide basic, decent housing to our people, and let's not condemn them to live in settlement. After a while, they get used to, they accept that maybe this is it. Development here, I'm pleased now. All my life I will live in this substandard condition, poor housing, no access to basic amenities, water, power, sewage, That's development for me, and that's it. And I'll pass on this legacy to my children and the grandchildren behind time. We've got to stop this type of narrative or mindset. And government, we can do it. I believe we have the resources. And we are not making right choices, or the strategies are not right. Minister and Assistant Speaker, members of Parliament too, I think IFC too, International Finance Corporation, part of the World Bank, they have a model that they're trying in Fiji, they're trying in some other countries like Ethiopia and Morocco in Africa. And some of the model, like people can buy apartments with about 3,000 or 4,000 US dollars. How they do that, that's another mechanism that we can look at a model. But I want to encourage the minister and government to be creative and innovative to help us solve this problem. We can't pass this problem to the next generation. We've got to put it to an end now. Yeah. Let's make sure the future, at least in some sectors, like housing,
and Miblalo cities, we stop this settlement. Our goal in the city, Mr. Assistant Speaker, is to finish settlement. Me like converting all settlement to become suburbs. Me try my model before. I tried to get land from the national government, subdivide it, and then allocate, and then get the settlers to build decent houses. Sim ground here I am hard. So now I'm coming to another model. Me by just go on a walkie road. Even me like walkie road too, now we go 8 mile. Hey, all I know 8 mile, me go there. When we were doing the quarry update, upgrading, it is to benefit our people. But all see me like go 8 times. Sometimes we don't have to listen to our people. We just have to do what we have to do. Now me by go ahead and walk the road here. Me by go ahead and walk the road because road me got power along when I'm walking now. Whether it's customary land or state land or freehold land, the government has the right and the power to make road. So all the settlement now, must be people about walking road, you go open him. People start moving, aligning, and then minister, you help him all walking house. You may buy Piney way to help him all walking house. We are not going to wait and listen to our people and, you know, allow them to procrastinate and stop the development that's supposed to take place. I think, Mr. Assistant Speaker, last point, me like talking about some, me remind him, Minister, last Friday, Prime Minister stopped to 2 points or 3 points, me like talking. Must be ground short. So, me like encourage him, you got money to, you may develop outside. No good working stand alone house too much. You may not ground lo, you may lo place come lo here now. You may by walking house, stand alone house, big blouse, place sing, or get a tambu na country by come. No, we have to start building apartments. The density, lo land use, lo Port Moresby and other urban areas is very low. In places like Hong Kong or Singapore, legally up area, but lots of people living there because they go up. Maybe thousands of people living in a small square kilometers. In Mosby, you may already walk in penthouse, mansion, hey, ground you wake up. So, Minister, factor that into your equation. No standalone house. You come here, sleep in apartments, you go to place, you can be a king or queen or whatever you want to be. But it must be, just be a decent person who goes to an apartment and live there in a small sector so the other people can have room and space to have a decent accommodation. I encourage him this one. Now, I want to say it again, Mr. Assistant Speaker, members of Parliament, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister too. The model that we should use to achieve, affordable housing is to reduce the, the unit cost per house. How do we do that? The engineering work is the biggest cost. Walking road, walking drainage, walking, bringing power and sewage and kind of thing. Okay, how do we make sure the unit cost comes down so that our people can pay something below 100,000 or 200,000? Get in Port Moresby, for example, NCDC must be in the equation, housing corporation, build the house, or whoever they engage, and we get PNG power and water PNG to come in, use our own money. NCDC, for example, build the roads and the drainage, PNG power at their cost, connecting power, and water PNG at their cost, connecting sewage and water, because people make some revenue back. It's an investment that will get revenue back, and when we do that at our cost, the unit price goes down. House here by 400,000, yeah, you can pay it for 100,000. This is the equation we must look at. So all the, urban centers too, they should come up with that scheme. Deputy Prime Minister, Mary Minister, West Taraka, East Taraka, all get up, you make them trying to. So we are really helping the minister and helping our people to have decent house, proper development in the urban areas, in the town, ending settlement. You must finish the settlement of Papua New Guinea. It's a bad testament to our development and our progress. People come now looking Mary Maya from the airport now. Papua New Guinea, I'm a rich country. How come some people are living in settlement like Erima? Mr. Semtu. Mr. Semtu. Pegransiak me simulkan na all by me Salimal Gambe Loenga na all by Kambege. My brother from Wapanamanda, all by Kambege. You look at me. So I have to do what we have to do. We have to be there to provide for our people. Governor Lomorobe talk about public servants, but minister and government, we should be open to all our people. All SME people, all got money too now, all buy house. Okay, house lol. All in the market, yeah, all got money. Okay, house lol. All private sector too, they contribute to this nation. They deserve to live in a proper accommodation too. Working house, and then all by him. How people have money, Mr. Assistant Speaker. But the equation and the model, we are not getting it right now. Settlement, the boom, mushroom, and then we complain. We have the tools and the means to do it. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Thank you very much. I'd like to join this debate on this very, very important thing regarding housing and sustainable homes in Papua New Guinea for our people. I'd like to commend the Housing Minister for this paper, which highlights a very important aspect, Blayumil, housing for our people. And our government does not see it as a very small issue, Mr. Assistant Speaker. In fact, we consider it a priority. Why we consider it a priority? Because listening to Honorable Governor Pakop and my own governor speak about it, and I understand for a lot of our people, especially in urban centers, this is a very important issue. Housing for our people, not only middle-income people, but our lower-income people in our settlements in Papua New Guinea. Why we say it's a priority? Because no other government for the last 15 or 20 years has ever put any money towards addressing these issues. This is the first time ever that this year the Pangu-led government has put in 150 million kina towards addressing this issue. So we should also look at that, because we consider this very, very important. Housing for our people is their right. It's not a privilege. I'm right belong straight there. Nami commend him, Ogadal speaker, I'll talk long. But Mile assure him, the floor of Parliament and our people, that we do not see this as a secondary option. It is a right for our people. And that is why we have allocated in this year's budget 150 million to address this issue. This is the start of it. This is the start of the issue. Consecutively, over the next 4 years, we'll contribute putting another 150 million kina every year towards looking at unleashing customary land, making it available not only for housing in our urban centers, Mr. Assistant Speaker, but for agricultural areas, in our rural areas. Those are very important aspects, because if we do not harness the use of customary land in Papua New Guinea, then we cannot develop as a country. It is very important. I'd like to, while we talk about this, a lot of people think it's easy, Mr. Assistant Speaker, to just go and cut up customary land, Nakisim. It is not so easy. As a lands minister, I have no right over customary land. As a government, we have no right. The land belongs to individuals, the clans or people of place. It is up to them to come and work in partnership with government, with the lands department, so that we can hold, harness, and develop the land together, especially with private enterprise. A lot of our customary landowners in our urban centers, because they have no way of moving forward with it, Mr. Assistant Speaker, they have gone ahead and sold the customary land for little mere rewards, 10,000 kina, 5,000 kina, all salim. Lands Minister ino control him this customary land or salim osem. That is a prerogative of the owners of the land, the customary land that they own. We have now devised and are trying to accommodate this in all our urban centers, especially in the cities of Port Moresby and Lae, which has the biggest urban drift population from all our rural areas. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I would like to applaud Governor Pakop and his urban resettlement program. Miletok, thank you, Governor Pakop, who sees this as a very important factor. Now, he has not waited. He has gone ahead, and he has developed the 8-mile resettlement scheme, trying to cut existing settlements, and it is a hard job trying to cut existing settlements and rezoning them. I'd also like to commend him and his NCDC team on the Faria land that we are now pursuing. Governor Pakop and his team have gone ahead, and we have helped them acquire Faria and are now looking at developing it for our smallholder people, so that they can have land that they can call their own for the housing to be put on. I would also like to take this time to commend the Honorable John Kaupa, who has also gone ahead. He has done nearly 5,000 allotments already in his electorate. So I would like to commend the Honorable John Kaupa. He has not waited. He has gone ahead and done it for his people. Mr. Honorable John Kaupa has now presented a submission on my desk that I am going through, working with him to see how lands can help him develop, acquire, and expand that initiative and program that the Honorable John Kaupa has done. And on this floor, I'd like to commend both of them, the Honorable Governor, Honorable Pakop, and the Honorable John Kaupa, for the excellent initiative on this matter. And we will work closely with them to ensure that their dreams and our dreams to house our people are fulfilled. While we talk on NHE housing, I would like to also say that a lot of our lower level income, especially in Geru or in my own city of Leh, you have a lot of housing that people, NHE housing that people have no titles to. I would also like to advise all our honorable members, people who have houses in these urban areas, like in Port Moresby or in Leh. Let me give an example for Leh, for example. For Leh, for example, during my term, in the last 4 years, or 5 years, in the first term, I have helped nearly 600 people, and I have given them titles for lands in 10 cities in Leh, nearly 400 titles in 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile. These people who have waited for land, Mr. Assistant Speaker, for their titles for the last 40 years have now got their titles. We are now working on continuing that program, and I have before my desk that I will work in consultation with the National Housing Corporation Minister and his staff to issue another 500 to 600 titles to people in Leh also. I take this time also to commend the member for Popondetta, who has also joined this initiative, Mr. Assistant Speaker, and has forwarded, using his DDA's money, to pay all the processes and brought 120 titles that is now being processed between Housing Corporation and lands, and hopefully that will be released this week. I encourage all members of Parliament in urban centers to go down this path, follow what the Honourable Member for Popondetta has done, follow what we have done in Leh, use your DDA money, assist your little people that cannot be able to fly to Port Moresby, assign an officer to assist them, fill in their paperwork, help them sort out their financing. For Leh, for example, we have allocated 2 million kina from my DSIP to help these little people, our people that cannot fly to Port Moresby, who cannot afford a plane ticket. So we have assisted them, assigned an officer, and they have been working closely with NHC and with lands to ensure that titles are progressed, and we hope to get some more done by this year as a Christmas present to them.
Very good.
So with these three members, we, as government, we see this is very important on this floor, and as government, we want to ensure that we continue doing this for our people. That is on the NHC side of things. But on other programs, you are looking at places like Tuhava, for example, which I have mentioned many times on the floor of Parliament, Mr. Assistant Speaker. It is a partnership between the developers, a partnership between customary landowners who have started a company, surrendered the land, not given it away, surrendered the land, and working in partnership, and now they are building nearly 4,000 housing residential allotments at Tuhava. They have that 4,000 houses being built. If we can average at about 400,000 kina each for those houses, that company will bring in an income and create jobs for 1.6 billion, Mr. Assistant Speaker. That is one project alone. But the key is having good customary landowners who are willing to partner with development companies, having good development companies that are willing to develop with landowners, and having us at Lands just facilitating and turning that title, a customary title, into a 99-year lease that they both enjoy and can use as mortgage and can use to develop their project. That is a commendable project, and we are going to use that same concept, Mr. Assistant Speaker, on our Nadza city program. Whilst I commend our ministers, there is a lot of things to be done. Let us look at the concept. It is not so easy to just cut blocks of land. Everyone can cut a block of land. And look at what happened to Tarama. Look at what happened to Tarama. People just cut up blocks of land, but there was no proper plan done there. No proper infrastructure plan, no proper way of doing it. And let us look at the cost, Mr. Assistant Speaker, for the benefit of Parliament and our people, to develop one block of land, one block, a housing allotment. You need to do footpaths, water, power, sewerage, street lights. How much that cost, Mr. Assistant Speaker? To develop one block, it's not a 10,000 kina development. For one allotment, it costs a minimum of 80,000 kina per allotment. So if you look at developing the 10,000 blocks, Mr. Assistant Speaker, 10,000 blocks, if you want to develop it at 80,000 kina, you are looking at an infrastructure component to build all those for 800 million kina, Mr. Assistant Speaker. To build cheap accommodation at the value of 100,000 kina per allotment on that block, at about 100,000 kina, you are looking at 1 billion kina, Mr. Assistant Speaker, to develop 10,000 blocks. So 1 billion plus 800 million is 1.8 billion we need to find as government if we want to go down that project ourselves. If you're looking at middle income housing, Mr. Assistant Speaker, it's 400,000 kina for one house, plus the development of the allotment of 80,000 kina per allotment. You are looking at 4 billion kina to develop 10,000 allotments, Mr. Assistant Speaker. That is for Parliament, for us to have a grasp of what the figures are involved. But there are ways around it. And I come again to where the good governor for NCDC has gone down the path. He has used his infrastructure money, he has used NCDC, Mr. Assistant Speaker, to help punch in roads. That takes away the cost of the development on infrastructure. He's looking at private developers to assist, so he can drop the price of developing, Mr. Assistant Speaker, 80,000 kina allotment down to maybe 40 to 30,000 kina allotment, so he can be able to give that title land away to the people living in the confines of NCDC. And I applaud the good governor for that initiative. By bearing the cost of infrastructure, Mr. Assistant Speaker, he can be able to develop and drop all these prices down. Because when you look at it, you look at power, the cost of water, the cost of footpath, the cost of sewerage, all these things come into that cost of 80,000 kina per allotment. So if the good governor has taken that initiative and gone down that path, Mr. Assistant Speaker, we welcome, and I would like to again seriously applaud what the good governor is doing, and I assure him that this government, and under my capacity as a lands minister, will work closely with him to ensure those titles go to his people in NCDC. And that has shown with the partnership, Mr. Assistant Speaker, that we have done already with Faria, where we have worked closely with the governor's office, and we have worked on looking at rezoning. We have worked on subdivisions, and we have worked on allocating through the lands department so that a good governor can be able to develop that for our people in Port Moresby, our biggest urban drift capital. We need to house our people because of all the urban drift. For Ley, for example, Mr. Assistant Speaker, we're also working closely with the churches. We're working closely with the Lutheran Church, which has given us 100 hectares of freehold land that we'll work in partnership with to develop subdivide it, and using the Lake City Authority, we'll build the roads in and use the same concept as our good governor has done, so that we can subsidize the infrastructure component and bring it down so our people can afford the allotments at 40,000 to 30,000 kina also, Mr. Assistant Speaker. We are doing the same with the Catholic Church that we are working closely with, and soon to be announced, we'll be announcing that for our good city of Kokopo, and where the Catholic Church has large tracts of land available. So working closely not only with government, but with churches and with private enterprise to see that we can be able to accommodate our people. So let me assure this House, Mr. Assistant Speaker, that the government takes this as a serious priority and will continue doing the good work that we have done so far to address this critical component of housing our people. And I would like to say that Parliament, my colleagues in Parliament, through you, Mr. Assistant Speaker, it is not only about spending money. We have a return on the investment. For 10,000 allotments that we build, for the investment that we put in, if we recover on the rates of land leases and rates per annum for 10,000 allotments at 500 kina per allotment, government gets back into consolidated revenue, Mr. Assistant Speaker, 5 million kina per annum for housing, for water, for power. On return on investments back on our SOEs, we will recover 24 million and plus 12 million. So that return on investment per annum for the outlay of 150 million kina, part of that return on investment per annum would be in the vicinity of, Mr. Assistant Speaker, 50 million per annum recovery on that, and plus creating jobs, creating opportunities, creating and growing our nation one time. Thank you through my colleagues in Parliament and through you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. I hope this clarifies, and we'll work closely. I would like to assure everyone that we'll work closely, especially with the customary landowners in the vicinities of our cities and also in our agricultural areas, Mr. Assistant Speaker, so we can develop agricultural components in our rural areas in places like Middle Ramu, in places like in West New Britain, so that we can grow agriculture, so we can also help contribute to the nation. Thank you very much, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Honorable House, the question is that the question be put. Those who are in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Honorable members, ministerial statement, Minister for
I'm all right. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I'll go straight to my statement. It is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to present my parliamentary statement to our government and to the people of Papua New Guinea on the reforms that I am taking as the Minister for Forest under Marape Rosa government. But before I proceed with my statement, I would like to first of all acknowledge the people of Angoram district for endorsing me to this parliament for the third time. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I wish to acknowledge the contribution of our late Grand Chief, Sir Michael Thomas Samare, for laying the foundation for my electorate and of course of this nation. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I also would like to thank the Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, for appointing me to join his cabinet as the Minister for Forest in this term of Parliament. Mr. Assistant Speaker, my ministry is ready and prepared to implement Marape Rosa government policy directives in the forestry sector to deliver on the development aspiration to promote revenue generation and growth the economy of this economy in a sustainable and equitable manner for the benefit of our people. These reforms are important for us as the sector to advance forward and to enable us to address effectively all these new emerging policy issues and challenges being faced in the sector. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I also would like to thank the Prime Minister, Honourable James Marape, for visiting the Ministry on the 4th of September 2022 and had an audience with the Managing Director and the Senior Managing Team of the PNG Forest Authority at our headquarters at Oola. It was a significant moment for my ministry to have the Prime Minister to discuss forestry reform, specifically on the establishment of the State Marketing Agency and the implementation of the State Purchase Option. Mr. Assistant Speaker, my ministry is fully aware of the government policy and revenue generation in the forestry sector and as one of the key economic sectors in the country. Forestry requires to increase revenue collection to grow the economy through phasing out of round log export by 2025 and increase capacity for onshore processing of round logs in the different forest products. That will see the involvement of the resource owners and the provincial government to take equity in all forestry investment in the country going forward. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the equity of the resource owners will be free carried through the state company PNG DY Holdings Limited. The equity arrangement for the resource owners, provincial government, and the state will be implemented by the recent NEC approved state marketing agency known as PNG DY Holdings Limited. Mr. Assistant Speaker, our timber industry today is predominantly round log export. Our major export market is China, which import over 80% to 90% of our log annually, whilst the balance of the logs goes to India, Vietnam, and other Asian countries. Over the last 5 years, from 2017 to 2022, Mr. Assistant Speaker, Papua New Guinea exports 17 million cubic meters of round logs and generates 6 billion in export revenue earning for Papua New Guinea annually. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the forest sector contributes 1.2 billion every year to the economy of this country. As the way forward, my ministry is effectively undertaking the National Domestic Processing Strategy 2020 to 2025. This sets the platform for timber processing and value adding in the country going forward. Currently, timber export consists of round logs and only 3% is processed wood products. We hope to increase this processing capacity to 50% by 2030. Mr. Acting Speaker, there are various policies and legislative that governs the forestry sector. The main being the Forestry Policy 1991, the Forestry Act 1991, and the Forestry Regulation 1998. Mr. Acting Speaker, my ministry is currently reviewing the Forestry Act 1991 in consultation with the key stakeholders and revenue government agency. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the new amendment to the Forestry Act captured the policy directives given for downstream processing, reforestation, afforestation, revenue generation, carbon trading, generate participation by the resource owners and the provincial government. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the National Executive Council on the 27th of April 2023 approved the National Forest Development Program, NFDP 2023 to 2027. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the National Forest Development Program is critical to ensure that the strategy, management and utilization of our forest resources in the country and to implement the forest reform. The National Forest Development Program sets the platform for reforming the forestry sector and is a blueprint that the forestry sector to operate in. It provides coordination, monitoring, measuring and evaluation and progress the strategy operation program to be implemented by the Papua New Guinea Forest Authority and all key stakeholders within the next 5 years. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I attach the copy of the National Forest Program to my statement as presented here to the members of this Parliament. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the State Marketing Agency has been part of the 1991 Forestry Act for the last 30 years, and I want to thank this government, through the leadership of Marape Rosso government, to make it happen for our country after 30 years. Past administration have tried to make the SMA into reality to deliver on the government plans for the revenue generation in the forestry sector and downstream processing activities in our country. Mr. Acting Speaker, my ministry has seriously taken Prime Minister's directive and the challenges to reform the administration of the forestry sector to change and improve on the way in which forestry do business. This means contributing to delivering on the government calls to get better value for our resource through the establishment of SMA. Mr. Assistant Speaker, my ministry has seriously taken the Prime Minister's directive. I beg your pardon. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I am now pleased to inform the NEC as to approve. I am pleased to inform that the NEC has approved the establishment of State Marketing Agency to be known as PNG DY Holdings Limited on the 27th of April 2023. On the decision number 114/2023. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I would like to thank the good Prime Minister for his visionary leadership and support to deliver this transformation change into the forestry sector. And I want to thank everyone in this House also for supporting forestry. Mr. Acting Speaker, under the PNG DY Holdings Limited arrangement, the state will enable to access the state purchase option, the implementation of the forest industry park, the establishment of 5 commercial plantation, an acquisition and allocation of 10 integrated forest management agreement areas, and allocation of 5 forest carbon concession for carbon trading under the PNG-owned proposed trading platform. Mr. Assistant Speaker, it is the government directives to ban round log export by 2025 and to promote domestic processing where it is financially viable. Mr. Assistant Speaker, I am pleased to announce that this government, through my ministry, has identified 4 regional forest industrial parks to be located at Vanimo, Sandown Province, Ley in the Morobe Province, Rabaul in East New Britain, and here in Port Moresby. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the Forest Industry Park will host a central processing facility for the processing of all timber harvesting in our country. Each of those industrial parks will host a range of facilities for processing, among other follows: construction timbers, veneer and plywood mill, like we have in Angoram, flax and papers, and other value-added forest products. Mr. Assistant Speaker, This industrial park will play a vital role in transforming the move of the sector to go into downstream processing and manufacturing in the forest sector to add value to our contribution to the sector and makes to a sector that makes to grow the economy. Mr. Assistant Speaker, on this note, I wish to inform the Parliament that my ministry is negotiating for the 10 development partners to go into large-scale wood processing in the country. And that also we will give opportunity for the Papua New Guinean businessmen to go into that space. Mr. Assistant Speaker, for instance, currently we have our own 1,000 treatment Kumarore logs for power poles supplied to PNG Power for the rural electrification program, and sawn timbers ready for shipment to Australia from our treatment facility in Kagamuga, that is up at Western Islands Province. Mr. Assistant Speaker, to think ahead in the long-term sustainable growth of the forestry sector, the harvesting of natural resource must go hand in hand with the forest plantation development program. My ministry has formulated the National Strategy on Reforestation and Afforestation, which has launched in August 2021 to set a firm directives for the forest resource replenishment program. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the forest sector can create sustainable and domestic employment in the country for the long term. Mr. Assistant Speaker, Papua New Guinea population is increasing by 3 to 5% a year. And to prevent urban migration or urban drifting into the rural community, which result in social economy issue and law and order problems, the forest plantation, which government supports and can create rural-based employment opportunity for our youth and rural population. Mr. Assistant Speaker, consistent with the National Forest Policy Directives and PNG Vision 2050, my ministry supports the National Forest Plantation Program, whose objective, among others, including the following: development of conservation of 800,000 hectares of major grassland in Papua New Guinea into industrial forestry plantation within 20 years, create 120 jobs per year for our rural population. See, forestry plantation will be an avenue for carbon sink and carbon trading. Mr. Assistant Speaker, it is the policy of this government to convert all major grassland throughout Papua New Guinea into multi-purpose forest plantation. Some of those grassland which include the Pacific Plain, among others. In my province, Pacific, the Pacific Plains cover almost 600 hectares of grassland. My ministry intends to convert this grassland into plantation to support the specific wood processing industry in the province. Mr. Assistant Speaker, under the Forestry Act review, forestry carbon will be the development option to be allocated for forestry carbon acquisition. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the benefits sharing arrangement will differ more from the existing resource owners arrangement for timber harvesting projects. Mr. Assistant Speaker, in terms of forest carbon trading in plantation, my ministry has commenced work with a major petroleum company like Total Energy, where we have signed an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding to plant 10,000 hectares of trees in Kuriva in Central Province, which we will work closely with the local MPs and the governor of Central to make this thing happen for our people in the Central Province. Mr. Acting Speaker, as a responsible government, we are increasing benefits to our resource owners in the sector. My ministry has increased the 1994 royalty rate by 20%, effectively as of January 2022. Mr. Assistant Speaker, under the project arrangement, the timber industry have contributed to the infrastructure development in the helping connect PNG by building roads into the remote part of our country. For instance, New Island Province has a total of 265 kilometers of road constructed. All this infrastructure will clearly state in our annual report from 2021 to 2022 as our tax year. Mr. Assistant Speaker, in terms of the state revenue contribution for the year 2022, the revenue collection in the forestry sector contributes to 570 million in the total direct revenue to the government and the people of this country. The table is there. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the sector contributes to the gross domestic product, GDP, in the country in 2022, the total sum of value 1 billion. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the total of 3 million cubic meters of round log were exported to the value of $300 million US, which equivalent to 1 billion being generated in 2022. Mr. Assistant Speaker, to conclude, the forestry sector is going through significant phase of a transformation. Whilst we acknowledge openly that there will be challenges coming, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I as the Minister for Forests can confidently say that I now have a good team or good administration team and measures in place in the forestry sector where it's ready and prepared to stand with me and the government to move and deliver on the sector. Mr. Assistant Speaker, with that strong support of the Marape Rosso government and all the important stakeholders and industry players present in the sector, I believe that forestry will change for the betterment of our people and our country. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Leader of Government Business.
Subsequent sitting, please.
Honorable House, the question is that the motion be agreed to. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No. Ayes have it. The Leader of Government Business.
He's not here. Well, we take his statement or me.
Attorney General, Minister of Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to statute, I present the annual reports of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission for the year ending 2020 and 2021. Mr. Speaker, or Assistant Speaker, I ask the Labour Parliament to make a statement in connection with the reports.
Honorable House, is the leave granted? Say aye. make your speech.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. In accordance, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Section 11.2 of the Organic Law under the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, I now pleased to present to this Honourable House and the people of Papua New Guinea the Judicial Legal Services Commission Annual Report 2020 and 2021. Mr. Speaker, the Judicial and Legal Services Commission Annual Report 2020 and 2021 outlines the implementation of the Judicial Legal Services Commission core functions, roles and responsibilities. The Judicial Legal Services Commission performs a key role in the judicial arm of the government as well as in the executive arm of the government in the appointment of the constitutional office holders and deemed department-led. Mr. Speaker, the key functions of the Judicial Legal Services Commission includes the appointment of judicial officers, with the exceptions of Chief Justice, who is appointed by the National Executive Council, and the law officers like the Public Solicitor, Public Prosecutor, State Solicitor, Solicitor General, Chief Lands Commissioner, Registrar of the Supreme Court and the National Court, the Secretary for National Judicial Staff Services. Mr. Speaker, the Judicial Legal Services Commission not only appoint but also has the powers to discipline judicial and law officers. Mr. Speaker, the Judicial Legal Services Commission Annual Report 2020 and 2021 captures the execution of the roles and the functions of the Judicial Legal Services Commission and the work undertaken during the 2 years. This report is primarily focused on the functions of the Judicial Legal Services Commission, not necessarily reporting on the work of the judicial and the law officers. The core functions of the Judicial Legal Services Commission is to keep the judicial and the law officers in check and balance. Mr. Speaker, as important as it is, the Judicial and Legal Services Commission's functions are not fully executed due to lack of manpower and capacity. We are in the process of setting up an office with full-time staff, and that will be another submission presented to the House in the due course. Currently, the Judicial Legal Services Commission is supported by a secretariat comprised of 3 full-time staff from the Department of Justice and Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, as the Chairman of Judicial Legal Services Commission, I acknowledge the support and assistance of the Department of Justice and Attorney General for hosting the Secretariat to provide support to the Judicial Legal Services Commission with funding, resources, and staffing as well. Year ending 2020 in review. Mr. Speaker, as the chairman of the Commission and Minister responsible, I would like to highlight some key achievements for the year 2020. In 2020, there are many number of key achievements under the chairmanship of myself, under the chairmanship of my predecessor, Honorable Brian Kramer. Exceptional number of appointments made in the higher and the lower judiciary. Mr. Speaker, we appointed 5 acting judges, of which 3 were expatriate judges, 13 magistrates, including principal and probationary magistrates, and acting lands commissioner. We renewed appointment of secretary, national judicial staff services, and we extended the term of current chief magistrate. Reviewed year ending 2021 in review. Mr. Speaker, I would like to highlight some key achievements for the year 2021. It was a milestone achievements for the Judicial Legal Services Commission. All the 4 regular meetings were conducted, and the 3 special meetings were conducted as well. Mr. Speaker, in summary, we appointed 9 acting judges, including 6 female, 7 substantive judges, reappointed 2 acting judges. 1 judge retired and 1 resigned due to family commitments. We also extended the compulsory age of retirement of judges from 72 to 75. Mr. Speaker, we also appointed acting deputy chief magistrate, 11 principal magistrates, 10 magistrates, 6 probationary magistrates. We revoked the appointment of 1 magistrate and 2 probationary magistrates on integrity issues. Mr. Speaker, we also approved all the district court magistrates by virtue of the office he holds to invoke Section 22B of the District Court Act and appoint them as coroner and mediator to the province, and which had been posted. We also endorse to increase the voluntary retirement age magistrates from 55 to 65 years, and increase the compulsory retirement age from 65 to 72 years with some conditions. Mr. Speaker,
The Judicial and Legal Services Commission is also empowered under Section 178 of the Constitution to suspend and remove from office judicial and the law officers. 2 complaints were received from 2 members of the judiciary, and the Commission is inquiring into the complaints, which will be reported later. The way forward for 2023, Mr. Speaker, as the Chairman for Judicial Legal Services Commission and Minister responsible, I am committed to ensuring that the courts are well resourced and staffed. The judicial and law officers hold the highest form of integrity in the office, both professionally and personally. Mr. Speaker, Judicial Legal Services Commission will ensure that there is check and balance, the respect of law and respect of office, of the office each and every judicial and legal services officers occupy. Mr. Speaker, for every misconduct and abuse of office will be dealt with and addressed. The judiciary and the law officers are the highest and important officers in the country, and it is my duty as the Minister and the Chairman and Attorney General to ensure that there is integrity, respect, above all, the rule of law plays its part. Before I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you to the current government for making it possible, providing money, resources that we need, and making it possible that we also, in the process of recruiting more judges and improving the system. And I want to thank and place on record Marape Rosso government for giving 100% support, and that no government in the past has done. Thank you very much on behalf of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take the opportunity to thank members of the Judicial Legal Services Commission, Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, Chief Ombudsman, Chief Magistrate, and the Governor Philip Undialu. I commend their dedication and commitment to the Judicial Legal Services Commission, and I look forward to working with them in the years to come. Mr. Speaker, with that, I submit the Judicial Legal Services Commission Annual Report 2020 and 2021 to this Honorable House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I move that Parliament take note of this annual report and debates be adjourned for a subsequent sitting.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, I ask leave of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
Is leave granted?
Leave granted. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move for the establishment of a parliamentary committee, and this parliamentary committee is established on the ease of doing business in PNG. Mr. Speaker, I move that one, that this Parliament establish a special parliamentary committee on ease of doing business in Papua New Guinea. Two, the members of the committee shall be one, Theo Pelgen, MP and Chairman. Two, Francis Alua, MP as Deputy Chairman. Three, Mr. Maso Ewabi, MP as a committee member. Four, Mr. David Arore, MP as a member. Five, Mr. Simon Sia as a member, MP. Six, Mr. Noah Cool, Governor as a member. And seven, Mr. Mash Nawek, MP as a committee member. The committee shall scrutinize the work of government agencies in business, economic affairs as the Department of Labor, Trade Industry, IRC, Customs, Investment Promotion Authority, State-owned enterprise in the bodies and the purpose of ease of doing business in PNG. The committee shall conduct inquiries and investigation into matters relating to business, economic affairs such as the impact of government policies on functionings and specific industries for the purpose of ease of doing business in Papua New Guinea. The committee shall also review and propose legislations relating to business and economic activities on A, tax, competition, labor, environment laws and their regulations, and energy, transportation, communication, trade, intellectual property, consumer, financial, corporate governance, bankruptcy, export controls, and foreign investment laws and regulations for the purpose of ease of doing business in PNG. Six, the committee shall participate in international cooperations and negotiations relating to business as a trade and agreements and give their views as committees as well. The committee shall engage with partners as to how to improve business and companies to seek out investment opportunities and how to create new markets and make their findings to this Parliament. The committee shall provide a forum for stakeholders in the business community to express their views and concerns on matters relating to business affairs and it relating to the ease of doing business in Papua New Guinea. The committee shall also advise government on those findings and the business and economic policies as and when required. The committee shall have powers to summon and conduct interviews with persons of both private and sectors to obtain information. The quorum of the committee shall be 3 members. The committee shall report to Parliament on such matters from time to time.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move another motion to set up a special parliamentary committee on the implementation of the MTDP4. Mr. Speaker, I leave of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
Is leave granted?
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move that the Parliament establish a special parliamentary committee on the MTDP4 and its implementation consisting of A, 1, Honorable Sasandra Mutuvel as chairman, B, Ms. Rufina Pita as deputy chairperson, C, Honorable Simon Sia, D, Honorable Charlie Benjamin, E, Honorable Chris Iveta, F, Honorable Philip Undialu, G, Honorable Michael Marum. 2, the primary objective of the committee is to establish and oversee the implementation of the recently passed MTDP4 and to ensure its alignment and provincial and district plans, as well as the progress and project of national agencies focusing on health, education and infrastructure plans. 3, the committee shall provide an independent oversight of the establishment of the MTDP4 and to ensure that it is established and implemented efficiently, effectively and accountably. The committee shall be guided by the following principles in carrying out its mandate. The committee shall be as a committee established within Parliament and other stakeholders. The work of the committee shall be transparent, accessible to the public. The committee shall be accountable to the Parliament and the people of Papua New Guinea. 5. The committee shall consult with wider range of stakeholders, including the government, civil societies, private sector, in carrying out its work. 6. The committee shall have power to summon public officials to obtain necessary documents or information relevant to the alignment of plans, programs, and shall be obliged to cooperate with the committee's inquiry and to provide requested information subject to relevant laws and regulations. 7. The committee shall overview and assess the alignment of all provincial district plans with MTDB4, scrutinize the programs and carried out by national agencies and ensure their compliance to specific attention and ensuring alignment within sectors. The objectives of the committee are to review and assess the progress of the MTDB4, A. B. Identify and report to any challenges or obstacles to the implementation of the MTDB4. C. Make recommendations to government on how to improve the implementation of MTDB4. D. Report to Parliament on the implementation of MTDB4 on an annual basis. The committee shall provide regular reports on its progress, findings, recommendations to Parliament to allow for timely updates and appropriate actions to be taken. 10. The expected outcomes of the committee works are: A. Improve implementations in the MTDB4, increase accountability, transparency in the implementation. C. Enhance public confidence in the government's ability to deliver on its development commitments. 11. The committee shall engage in collaborative efforts with relevant committees, departments, and organizations involved in development planning to streamline efforts, foster cooperation, share knowledge in best practice on the implementation of the MTDB4. Finally, the committee shall consider other risks and issues that it may as consider necessary. A. Limited and appropriate capacity within the public service to implement MTDB4, policy and process implementation and management or mismanagement, public and relevant agencies' inclusion in the MTDB4, and other relevant considerations.
The question is that the question be put. Those who are in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Speaker, this is the last motion. I ask Parliament leave to move a motion without notice.
Honorable House, the question is that the motion be agreed to. Those who are in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, I ask leave of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
Mr. Leave granted.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, thank you. I move for the establishment of a special parliamentary committee on airports, operations, and airlines industries. This committee shall compose of 7 members appointed by Parliament, and its quorum in committee shall be 3. The members of the committee shall be Honorable Sam Basil Jr. as Chairman, Honorable Alex Orim as Deputy Chair, Honorable Freddie Kumai as a member, Honorable Council Kamdaru as a member, Honorable Michael Marum as a member, Honorable Joseph Yopi Yopi as a member. The committee shall inquire into operations and regulations of airport and airlines industries in Papua New Guinea with particular reference to A, the legal regulations, policy framework of NAC, Civil Aviation Safety Authority, New Sky Pacific, and other line agencies. B, compliance with regulation and policy framework set out by International Civil Aviation Organization. C, air traffic management and air navigation services in Papua New Guinea. C, how airlines determine fair pricing in domestic international level, airport pricing, ticket pricing, the determination of airport charges for landing, securities, aircraft types, and customer demands, determination of airline routes by airlines, consistency of aircraft supply and retrieval of passengers by airline during aircraft maintenance and breakdown, and any related matter to airports operation airline industries. The committee shall send for persons, papers and records and to meet from place to place as they act during the recess.
The question is that the question be put. Those who are in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those who are in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, thank you. I thank all members who have attended today's session, and I urge other members and ministers who are within the vicinity of Port Moresby or within any place that they can attend Parliament, if they could attend Parliament tomorrow and onwards, and we could debate on important issues and also debate on papers and ministerial statements that are presented to Parliament. With that, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I ask that we adjourn Parliament to tomorrow 10 a.m. Thank you.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those who are in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Honourable members, I now adjourn the Parliament to 10 a.m. tomorrow.